Douluo, I'm really not strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Are they shameless? Don't be afraid of opponents who are like gods, but be afraid of teammates who are like pigs. Until now, Xian finally understood the connotation of this sentence. Letting the two of them help with the cooking was simply a challenge to his heart ability. After kicking the two of them away, Xian continued to work. Anyway, there were already 6 dishes, so he could just make 2 more. Backyard. Mother, you have to make the decision for us. Brother is bullying us. Xue, Wuji and the two looked disgraced, with footprints on their chests. They looked miserable, and cried to Nangangling in tears. Nangangling's face remained motionless, and she waved her hand. You two go down and wash up. Oh. What? Go down and wash up? Now is the time to clean up. They have been bullied. Can they have some sympathy? Mother, my eldest brother not only threatened us to help with the cooking, but also kicked us. You have to make the decision for us. The two of them had firm eyes. They must seek justice this time, otherwise they would not be able to hold their heads high as human beings in the future. As a prince, he didn't even dare to let out a fart after being beaten. How could they hang out in Xian city in the future? It's okay to be embarrassed, but you absolutely can't be embarrassed. Seeing Xue Wuji and the two complaining, Xian's heart tightened. Before she could ask for mercy, Nangangling's words suddenly rang out. King, what do you think about this? Nangangling asked curiously, looking in the direction of the kitchen. Aha. As soon as these words came out, concubine Yang and Xian looked over immediately, and even Zuke's eyes widened. But why didn't I see my eldest brother? Exclamation mark. Zuke was filled with confusion. A gust of cold wind hit them from behind, and both Xue Wuji shuddered. Their angry faces turned into excitement and joy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Mother, the food cooked by eldest brother is very delicious. We all saw it just now. Yes. We have learned a lot by helping eldest brother in the kitchen. We should learn more from eldest brother. The two of them didn't turn around and sang in harmony. They immediately sang praises to Xian, and their hearts were extremely pious. They are all brothers. How could they be snitching behind their backs? They can't do this kind of thing. Even if other people have opinions, they will never let him go. Seeing Xue Wuji and his wife changing their faces so quickly, concubine Yang and Xian were immediately dumbfounded. Are you two kidding around? Your Majesty, your Highness said that the dishes have been prepared so that everyone can go to the main hall to have a meal. Qinghe saluted. Oh, what? Female? Hearing this, Xue Wuji and the two men were immediately stunned. When they turned their heads, they suddenly felt like 10,000 grass and mud horses galloping past. It's not Big Brother who's here. Seeing Nangangling and others joking and laughing, the two of them wanted to find a crack in the ground to hide in. It was so embarrassing. Queen. Mother. The two of them looked at Nangangling with tears in their eyes. They didn't expect that she would actually set a trap for them. Is this what a mother should do? Do you still have any questions? Otherwise, I'll ask King to talk to you, Nangangling said jokingly. She could clearly see the embarrassing behavior of the two of them in the kitchen just now, and she was also ashamed for them. Although she doesn't know how to cook, you, as sons, can't either. Doesn't this mean that she is incompetent in teaching? Look at your eldest brother. You are both a prince. How come there is such a big gap in your life? No. Hearing this, Xue Wuji and Xue Mingtang immediately shook their heads and waved their hands. They did not want to continue to provoke Xian. Now their eldest brother is more like a dynamite barrel. Whoever lights it will blow it up. They can't afford to offend him. Okay, let's go to the main hall together and see what food your the eldest brother has prepared. With that said, Nangangling took Xian and left, and concubine Yang followed with Zuke, leaving only the two lonely figures. The main hall was filled with fragrance, and the maid on the side also swallowed her saliva. Xian looked at the 7 dishes and 1 soup on the table, and nodded with satisfaction. With this skill, if you don't open a restaurant, it would be a waste of your talent. Yes, I can promote food by myself. Suddenly, Suzanne's eyes lit up, as if he saw a broad road heading towards him. With the deliciousness of these foods, you can build a food area in the entertainment city without worrying about no customers coming. Brother, what food did you prepare for Kera? While Suzanne was thinking, Zuka ran over happily, her cute little face full of excitement, especially when she smelled the fragrance. She was even more intoxicated. After rubbing her little head, Suzanne picked up Zuka and took her to the table. Look, there is chicken drumsticks that you like best. With that said, Suzanne took out a chicken leg and handed it to Zuka. Mom said, Zuka can't eat first. Zook shook his head quickly, but his eyes were fixed on the chicken legs, and his mouth was open, salivating. Don't worry, big brother is here. Everything will be fine. So, Xian ignored these royal etiquette and directly usurped the chicken legs into Zuka's hands. This chicken drumstick is so fragrant and full of flavor. Zuka hesitated for a while, but finally couldn't help it, and started eating with her mouth open, her eyes shining brightly, full of joy. At this time, Nangang and the others also came over. Seeing Zuka eating chicken legs, concubine Yang's face suddenly turned serious. Kena, your aunt hasn't said anything yet. Why are you eating first? Aunt Zhu, I asked her to eat it, so don't blame her. Suzanne said quickly. Okay, everyone, sit down and try King's craftsmanship. Nangang didn't care about such trivial matters, waved her hand, and then sat down on the main seat. Zhu Wuji and the two looked at Suzanne angrily, and then sat down at the last seat. This chicken seems a bit similar to the fish last time. It's also steamed, right? Knowing that no one would move their chopsticks without doing it first, Nangang picked up a piece of chicken and asked curiously, it's indeed steamed, is tender and plump. Aunt Zhu, you should try it too. While talking, Suzanne also picked up a piece of chicken for Aunt Zhu. The two of them were elders, so the due etiquette was indispensable. It tastes really delicious. No wonder Wuji and the others care so much about it. This time I came to King. It's a real treat. The soup immediately spread in the mouth. After entering the mouth, the chicken was as tender as a shelled egg. Concubine Yang's eyes lit up, and she couldn't help but admire it. Suzanne smiled and did not answer, so that Concubine Yang could continue to take care of Zuka while he took care of his wife. As for Zhu Wuji, they didn't talk much and concentrated on eating the food. Looking unshakable, ha ha ha. I asked why the queen is not in the harem. It turns out she came to King Mansion. Suddenly, a loud and powerful voice sounded, and Emperor Zhuai walked in with a smile on his face. Everyone, sometimes you may be late for dinner, but you will never be absent. Chapter 27 Zhuyi, mine. Everything is mine. In the backyard, Emperor Zhuai did not leave after lunch. Originally, he planned to have a heart-to-heart talk with Suzanne. Phew! Exclamation mark. What? You need 10 million gold coins? However, when he heard Suzanne's idea for the entertainment city, his expression suddenly changed, and he spit out a mouthful of tea, his face filled with pain. That's 10 million gold coins. Despite the fact that the empire is extremely rich and has a lot of tax revenue, the total treasury reserves are only 300 million, including the daily military consumption and the monthly payment of soul masters, etc. It's okay that no natural or man-made disaster happened. If something unexpected happened suddenly, the empire's finances would immediately be in a state of tension. 300 million is a number that can support even revenue. It will be difficult to increase it, and it will be difficult not to decrease it. It can be said that these 300 million gold coins are the empire's year-round treasury reserves. Getting 10 million at once, although it seems to be only 1/30th, is still a huge fortune. Moreover, the purpose is only to build a high-rise building, which feels like a loss when you think about it. I thought that if Suzanne wanted to build an entertainment city, it would cost only hundreds of thousands of gold coins, but now, I just stole 50 million gold coins from your soul guide, and you suddenly want to ask me to get 10 million back? No, not even to death. I have never agreed to any conditions. Anyway, it was just a word of mouth at that time. If you refuse to admit it until death, you can save 10 million gold coins. Why don't you do it? Father, are you planning to act rogue? Noticing the change in Emperor Zhuyi's expression, Suzanne was not angry at all. Being an emperor was not shameless, but no one dared to say it. Ahem. You also know that the national treasury is not rich. 10 million is really too much. Emperor Xue touched his nose awkwardly. The current situation on the mainland is not optimistic, especially the threat from Wuhan Palace. Sooner or later, a battle will break out. This money is more of a weapons store. Then how much do you think you can take out? Suzanne asked coldly, eyes narrowed. 500,000. What do you think? Emperor Xue pondered for a moment, and then said with some embarrassment, point Suzanne, doesn't your old heart hurt? Bargaining. You can still bargain like this, just 1/20th. Dig, so stingy. Father, if you have no money, I will go and talk to the Seven Treasures glazed sect. They should be very enthusiastic about buying soul guides. Looking at Emperor Xue with cold eyes, Suzanne reminded him leisurely, no. Upon hearing this, Emperor Xue stood up with a slap on the table. His expression was filled with anger, and his eyes became a little blood red. He already fully understood the power of the soul guide. It was definitely a killer weapon. Ordinary soul kings possess level 5 soul cannons, which are powerful enough to threaten soul emperors. This is definitely a strategic weapon. He definitely doesn't wrong. Seemingly realizing something, Emperor Xue turned to look at Suzanne and asked with some unclear meaning, Your Majesty, do you still have soul cannons there? There are probably a dozen pieces left, Suzanne replied casually. Hearing this, Emperor Xue couldn't sit still. He stared at Suzanne passionately, laughing and looking a little lewd. He's here, he's here again with his soul guide. In the blink of an eye, the empire will have more than a dozen soul emperor level masters. Wow. He said, the soul cannons are all his. No one can steal them from him. Ahem. Just when Emperor Xue was about to compromise and ask Suzanne to hand over the soul cannon, he saw that Suzanne had already begun to draw and was still mumbling plausibly. A level 5 soul cannon must cost at least 2 to 3 million gold coins. Otherwise it will appear to be a bit of a loss. 4. A level 6 soul cannon. It should be no problem to raise 5 million gold coins. Then I'd better sell them to level 6 soul cannons. The Kibeo glazed sect lacks the ability to protect itself the most, so I'm not afraid they won't buy it. Oh, I have to be careful when running a small business. It's really difficult for me. Emperor Xue, I have a saying that I don't know if I should say it or not. Is this really a small business? Exclamation mark. Did you learn cultural classes from an art teacher? As a prince, you actually want to sell things to Kibeo glazed sect and not give them to me. Not the son of man. Not the son of man. Emperor Xue was furious in his heart. He wanted to split Suzanne open with a knife to see if his heart was red. It's simply heartless, cold, and unreasonable. Although the Xian Empire and the Kibeo glazed sect are partners and are related by kinship, public is public and private is private. How can they be confused with each other? Your Majesty, did you just talk about level 6 soul cannons? Do you still have level 6 soul cannons there? Suddenly, Emperor Xue seemed to realize something and rushed over immediately, his eyes red and extremely excited. Level 6 soul cannon. One punch will make you cry. Ahem. One shot will make you a little soul emperor. Woohoo, the 5th level soul guide in my hand suddenly lost its fragrance. What? A level 6 soul cannon? When did I ever say anything about a level 6 soul cannon? Father, don't think too much about it. Suzanne immediately shook his head, his eyes full of sincerity. What kind of bicycles do you want? What kind of level 6 soul cannons do you want? He doesn't know these things at all. Seeing Suzanne's poor acting skills, Emperor Xue clenched his fists hard and felt a tightness in his chest. As long as you take out 5 level 6 soul cannons, I will give you 10 million gold coins. What do you think? Emperor Xue said through gritted teeth. 5. You want to eat shit. Did you give away my level 5 soul guide cannon for free? If we go to the Kibeo glazed sect, to level 6, 5 soul cannons should be enough for 10 million gold coins. As if Emperor Xue did not exist, Suzanne rubbed his chin and muttered calculations to himself. Emperor Xue. Wow, yeah. My 40-meter sword. I want to chop this kid alive now. Give it to me. I'll give you 10 million gold coins. Emperor Zhuyi spoke one word at a time, almost squeezing out these words from between his teeth, with veins jumping across his forehead. Alas, I haven't paid for the 5th level soul cannon before. What's happening to people now? Can there be more trust between people? Suzan couldn't help, but shook his head, feeling very hurt inside. Emperor Zhuyi. Climb up the pole, right? It's my big sword. Don't go too far, I'm your father. Emperor Zhuyi roared angrily. Father, I will go to Kibaoliuli later to negotiate a big deal. When I come back, I will share with you 2 million. So, Xian blinked his big eyes and emphasized the last 3 words in his voice. He was about to leave as he spoke. It looked like Emperor Zhuyi wanted to kill someone. 12 million. Yes. Emperor Zhuyi took a deep breath, his eyes so cold that he wanted to kill someone. He is Emperor Zhuyi. If anyone else dared to threaten him like this, he would have died 800 times. Ha ha ha. I know that my father always pays attention to integrity. Come on, let's sign and seal it first. Suzan took out the cloth, laughed and raised an eyebrow at Emperor Zhuyi. Emperor Zhuyi, damn it. Do you really not trust me? Explain the finances of the Xian Empire. 1 gold coin is roughly equivalent to 1 year of family life point. If it were in ancient China, it would be basically the same as 1 tael of silver in the Song dynasty. The Song dynasty's treasury income was about 4 to 5 million taels a year, which was just money collection point. And how high is the price of 10 million gold coins? Considering that Tangsun and the others won the championship, the gold coins are only tens of thousands. I don't mean to argue, I'm just explaining it purely. Asking for recommendation votes, asking for awards, asking for comments, and asking for 5-star reviews. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. As long as you run fast, you can't catch up. After sending Emperor Zhuyi away with a wry smile, Suzan looked at the cloth in his hand and couldn't help but laugh. Ahem. After looking around and seeing no one around, Suzan then focused his eyes on the words 1 and 2 on the 12 million gold coins and couldn't help but feel a little distressed. 1. Should I add 1 horizontal line, 2 horizontal lines, change it to 5 or 9, or directly add a vertical line? 2. Should I add a horizontal line, or change it to 5? Alas, this is really difficult to handle. However, 1 plus 1 vertical line makes 10, and 100 million is not very reliable. Oh. Forget it. Let's save some face for you, Dad. After thinking about it, Suzan gave up changing 1 and directly changed 2 to 5. Alas, there are not many good people like him who think about others anymore. The small sum of 3 million should be within his affordability. Besides, the extra 5 million after the 10 million is what he deserves. If you want to default on your debt, don't look at who I am. Wakaka, honey, let's go to the treasury to get money. With a wave of his hand, Suzan led Xian Ringsu directly towards the treasury. The Xiandao Empire does not have a system of 3 provinces and 6 ministries. The political power is relatively loose and is directly responsible to the emperor. The royal family's finances are mainly responsible for the finance minister, specifically the treasury. I checked the information on medieval Western European countries myself. No wonder I'm not rigorous. On the streets of Xiandao City, a gorgeous carriage flew past at a very fast speed and appeared on another street corner in the blink of an eye. In the carriage, Xian Ringsu was shocked when she heard Suzan's bold move and asked worriedly, "Husband, aren't you afraid that father will punish you for deceiving the emperor? Changing the imperial edict without authorization is a serious crime of deceiving the emperor. To put it more seriously, it is rebellion. Even if Suzan is the eldest prince, he cannot bear this crime. When did I delete the imperial edict? Wife, please stop talking nonsense." Suzan retorted like a good baby. Is he the kind of person who changes the imperial edict? Whether the edict is written as 15 million or not is none of his business. PFFD. Seeing Suzan's rogue appearance, Xian Ringsu almost laughed out loud. She had never seen such a shameless person before. It was obvious that he had changed it, but he still didn't admit it. "What are you doing?" Qian Rinxu was startled when she was suddenly hugged and her face turned a little red. Punch. You're back for me. I'm almost exhausted at noon. Gently pulling her arm, Suzanne blinked pitifully, then found a comfortable position and lay down. Okay, I'll do it for you. Seeing Suzanne like this, Qian Rinxu smiled and then gently massaged Suzanne. The technique was very unfamiliar. It was obviously her first time. Oh, it's comfortable. Wife, you can go faster. Yes, yes, right below and further down. Bar. Dirty. After entering the palace, Suzanne went straight to the treasury. If Emperor Xue came to his senses and gave some secret order to the treasury, he would not even cry. These days, it's really worth $1 million every minute. Now that Emperor Xue is fascinated, get the gold coins as soon as possible. The treasury is strictly guarded and is surrounded by royal guards. The royal guards and the royal knights are both the main protective force of the Xian Empire's royal family, as well as the collective power of soul masters. On the surface, the treasury has 3 lines of defense. As for the power behind it, I don't know. Your Highness, why are you here? Seeing Suzanne coming, the commander guarding the first forbidden gate immediately came over to greet him. I have been ordered to go in and do something. Suzanne replied impatiently, and then led Qian Rinxu in. The commander saw that it was Suzanne and Qian Rinxu. One was the prince and the other was the prince's concubine. Moreover, they only went in alone and did not stop or search them. On both sides are hundreds of meters of vertical walls, only a few meters wide, looking like a natural moat. The second forbidden gate was guarded by a general and was not searched. Didn't you say there are 3 levels of protection? Seeing the 2 of them arriving at the entrance of the treasury, Qian Rinxu raised her eyebrows and asked curiously. There were only 2 guards here, and they came over easily, and there was no third one. There is indeed a 3rd line of defense here, but you can see it normally. Suzanne shook his head and did not explain much. As the foundation of the empire's resources, how could the treasury not be strongly guarded? The 3rd guard on the surface is a soul saint, but the fact that the 2 of them can get here proves that they have passed the review. However, the 2 of them did not notice anything unusual. Entering the treasury area, Suzanne found the treasurer Sidamo, who was guarding the treasury. This is my father's order. I'm asked to withdraw 15 million gold soul coins from the treasury. Please do it as soon as possible. I have important matters to deal with. Xian gave the cloth directly to Sidamo. Suzanne's face was serious and majestic. 15 million. Hearing this number, Sidamo was also startled, with some surprise in his eyes. After opening the cloth and looking at it, he saw that it was His Majesty's decree and that it had the imperial seal on it. Sidamo didn't think much about it. Your Highness, I will take care of it now. Please wait a moment, Your Highness. Sidamo bowed slightly and then directly entered the treasury restricted area. Originally, according to the rules, he needed to report it to the Minister of Finance, who would then verify it with His Majesty. However, this set of procedures is only suitable for ordinary ministers, and most princes are not included in it, let alone the eldest prince with good conduct. Therefore, Sidamo did not suspect anything. As for forging or altering the decree, he didn't even dare to think about it. Isn't this looking for death? Aren't you afraid of being discovered? Sitting in the room, Qian Rinxu ran, was a little nervous, and asked in a low voice, if you find out, just run away. As long as you run fast, they won't be able to catch up with us. Suzanne shrugged, his expression full of contentment, and not worried at all. If he hadn't had any sense in the treasury, he would have emptied it long ago. There was no need to come here quietly to get money. He was able to come in person, just for the sake of money. You have such a big heart. Unexpectedly, Suzanne would answer like this. Qian Rinxu was speechless. She was really heartless and tired of living. Run away. Where could they run without being caught and beaten up? Unless of course they ran to Wuhan Palace and Wuhan City. No matter how big my heart is, I can't just pretend to be you, but I can't pretend to be someone else. Suzanne said with a smile. Be more serious and stop making me happy with Meng Lang's words all the time. Xian Ringsu rolled her eyes at Suzanne and her tone was a little cold, but her slightly red cheeks and raised corners of her mouth had already given her away. Your Highness, here are 15 million gold soul coins. After a while, Sidamo came out with a box. Suzanne put away the box containing the gold card without counting it. Wakaka. Got 15 million gold coins. The wind is tight. Exclamation mark. Shit. Exclamation mark. Chapter 29. Another award. On the carriage, Suzanne was very excited. It felt really good to take money and run away. It seems that I will make more trips in the future when I have time. Opening the brocade box, there are 5 gold cards and 1 diamond card lying quietly inside, which can be used to withdraw money from any bank in the empire. Gold cards generally have a value between 1 million and 5 million. There are 5 of them. I think they all have a value of 1 million. As for diamond cards, they have a value of tens of millions. Take these 3 gold cards and quietly be your rich wife. I will leave the family affairs to you. With that said, Suzanne took 3 gold cards and handed them to Xian Ringsu. The latter smiled and accepted them happily and solemnly. She belongs to one person in her heart now, and no one can predict it in the future, so it is better to cherish the present. Isn't it just the head of the house? She can definitely do it. By the way, what is your martial arts spirit? Suzanne asked, pretending to be confused, as if he had thought of something. She must become a rich woman, but she cannot destroy Xian Ringsu. He still wants to become a man of angels and gods. The wife's cultivation must be done from an early age. In ancient times, she hoped that her husband would become a dragon. In the previous life, she hoped that her husband would become a dragon. He decided to hope that his wife will become a dragon. Hearing Suzanne ask about this, Xian Ringsu's eyes flickered. My martial spirit is a big white goose, but I don't have soul power, so I can't practice. After saying that, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but feel a little guilty, but she had to lie, otherwise it would be easy for others to see through. Suzanne, gods have no soul power. You are born at level 20 and think I don't know, but my wife is quite smart. He didn't care that Xian Ringsu deceived him, but Suzanne was a little happy in his heart. Xian Ringsu was not stupid enough to say that his martial spirit was a swan, but instead said it was a big white goose. The swan martial spirit is generally unique to the Xian royal family. If she said this, the two of them would most likely go to the German orthopedics to meet. Naturally hugging Xian Ringsu into her arms, Suzanne held her soft white hands. A faint smile bloomed on her face. It's not a big deal if you don't have soul power. I just want to ask you if you want to practice. Xian Ringsu's shy expression froze slightly, and she raised her head slightly. Knowing that Suzanne would not be innocent, Xian Ringsu stared blankly at Suzanne, her clear blue gem eyes full of surprise. You have a way for me to practice? Of course. Who is your husband? To me, this is just a trivial matter. Seeing that Xian Ringsu's acting skills were also on point, Suzanne was completely relieved now. The corners of her mouth raised, and she spoke quite proudly. With that said, Suzanne took out a thread-bound book from the storage ring. This is a Zuanshan technique. If you practice it according to the instructions above, you can cultivate soul power. Even if you have no soul power, it is enough for you to quickly reach the realm of titled Douluo. Oh, by the way, there are also human body meridians and Taoist 5-element miscellaneous theory here. It should be easier to understand if you take them together. Thinking that Zuanshan Gong is a Taoist method and belongs to a different faction than the church, Suzanne took out 2 more books from the storage ring. These 2 books were obtained through shopping, and they were very cheap. They were really 2-cent martial arts secrets. You just gave me the technique that can cultivate soul power. Staring at Suzanne blankly, Xian Ringsu felt her nose was sore, and tears kept rippling in her eyes, as if they would fall at any time. Soul masters can only practice through meditation, which is extremely slow. In the eyes of soul masters, this technique is simply priceless. Just give it away, if you say so. It doesn't matter, it's just some gadgets. It's worth your tears. Suzanne replied calmly as he wiped the eyes of Xian Ringsu distressedly. What? A gadget? This is a priceless treasure. Xian Ringsu replied angrily. Looking at the technique in front of her, Xian Ringsu was extremely moved. Only the fool in front of her would give away this kind of treasure. But he continued to lie to her. When she thought of this, Xian Rongsu felt even more indebted to Suzanne, so she pushed the technique back without hesitation, looking determined not to accept it. "What are you doing?" Suzanne frowned slightly, looking at Suzanne with tears in her eyes. Xian Rongsu's voice was choked. "You should keep this technique. You are only at level 30 soul power now. It can help you cultivate to a titled Douluo as soon as possible." He actually knows that I'm level 30. It seems that my wife's strength is not low now. Suzanne's eyes narrowed, but he did not reveal the flaw in his words. With Xian Rongsu's innate soul power of level 20, even though she is only 14 years old now, she is probably already around level 50. What a blessing it is to have such a daughter-in-law. "No need. I have the ability to protect myself, so you should keep it." Suzanne shook his head quickly and then added, "I will have something for you later. Just take this and practice by yourself. Anything else?" Xian Rongsu's eyes were full of curiosity, but seeing Suzanne being so affectionate, she was too embarrassed to continue to refuse. "From now on, it's me who will protect you." Looking at Suzanne, Xian Rongsu secretly vowed to practice hard in the future and never let him suffer any harm. "Don't you have anything to express to me?" Seeing Xian Rongsu just accept the gift, Suzanne felt very hurt inside. Sure enough, TV dramas are all lies. When girls are happy and moved, shouldn't they be bolder? Why is it gone when it comes to him? What does it mean? Xian Rongsu was in a daze, looking confused. Suzanne, not only are there straight men, but there are also straight women. Since you won't give it to me, I'll take it by force. Stretching his right hand behind Xian Rongsu's neck, Suzanne smiled sweetly, looking from Xian Rongsu's eyes, nose, and finally to the two pink lips. The pupil suddenly dilated, and before Xian Rongsu could react, Suzanne had already leaned over in an instant. An electric current rushed from her lips to her brain, and Xian Rongsu's face turned as red as a ripe apple. After a few shy struggles, Xian Rongsu seemed to have exhausted all her strength. Her body went limp, and her arms slowly hugged Suzanne. Time seems to have stopped at this moment. 2 minutes later the two slowly pulled apart, and Xian Rongsu huddled in Suzanne's arms with her head lowered like a quail. She was ashamed, her face was flushed with intoxication, and her eyes were a little blurry. "Do you understand what the expression I mean is from now on?" Stroking Xian Rongsu's golden and silky hair, Suzanne couldn't put it down, and reminded him with a wicked smile. "I don't know." Xian Rongsu replied angrily, pouting her numb mouth. Hint. This is definitely a naked suggestion. Suzanne blinked his big eyes. "Then I'll teach you again." "No, you." Woo. 1 minute later. "Now, you know, right? You are so smart. Then I will reward you again." "No." Shamyu chapter 30. It feels so good, I can't stop. "You are so evil. You know how to take advantage of me." Punching Suzanne's chest with small fists, Xian Rongsu exhaled like blue, the blush on her face not completely dissipated. "Strictly speaking, we both suffer the same loss, so how can we say we are taking advantage of you?" Suzanne replied seriously, making Xian Rongsu roll her eyes. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? Afraid that Suzanne would do bad things again and be seen by people on the street, Xian Rongsu quickly changed the subject. "Don't you have something else to give me?" "This fairy grass is called Narcissus Jade Muscle and Bone. It can help you practice. Even if you are in the Soul Master realm, it should not be a problem to increase your soul power by several levels." With that said, Suzanne took out a transparent jade vase from her arms and saw a white crystal flower inside, which looked as spotless as a green lotus. "That's right. This is the immortal medicinal herb." Suzanne still has several plants there, but this one is the most beneficial to Xian Rongsu's cultivation. Narcissus jade can nourish the muscles and bones and open the 8 meridians, and Zhuan Gong also needs to open up the 8 extraordinary meridians, which can save her a lot of detours. "What level of soul power?" Xian Rongsu looked at Suzanne in disbelief. The training of a soul master requires a step-by-step approach. At the soul master level, even if a genius wants to advance to the next level, it will take a month or 2 of hard training. If she has a level 50 soul power, she is born with a level 20 soul power. The next level 30 soul power is something she started practicing after she became sensible. It took 8 years to reach level 30. In other words, it was only about 4 levels in 1 year. One medicinal herb is worth a year of cultivation. Xian Rinxu couldn't believe how crazy other people would be if they knew about this herb point. Although Narcissus jade muscles and bones are not as valuable as Zhuanshan Gong, they are still rare treasures. You're only at level 30 now, so you should keep it for yourself. It would be nice to be able to advance a few levels. After thinking about it, Xian Rinxu refused again. With Suzanne's soul power at the moment, it might be difficult to catch up with him. It would be better to let him improve his strength so that he could protect himself in the future. Don't accept it again. I'm so angry. What I hate most is that other people don't accept the gifts I gave them. Just take it if you are told to. I have absorbed 2 of them in the past 2 days and I haven't finished digesting them yet. Suzanne stuffed it directly into Xian Rinxu's hand. Are you kidding? Is he the one who lacks this medicinal ingredient? What he lacks is the wholesale market for grass jelly. Well, Xian Rinxu stared blankly at the fairy grass in her hand and then immediately came back to her senses. You have more than one here. The sound was like a roller coaster rising rapidly, full of horror. Well, it doesn't taste very good. I feel a little tired after eating too much of this stuff, Suzanne said seriously. Xian Rinxu, I feel a little tired after eating too much. This is something that doesn't taste good. Seeing Suzanne pretending to be sophisticated, Xian Rinxu felt the urge to rob him. Look at how many good things this guy in front of him had hidden behind his back. Without being polite, Xian Rinxu put it away again. Seeing that Suzanne was about to make another move, she immediately blocked him with both hands. Don't be like this. My mouth feels numb now. I'll make it up to you later. Suzanne, what the hell? When the hell am I going to kiss you again? I thought I was already narcissistic enough, but it turns out you are even more narcissistic than me. Who wants to kiss you? Suzanne sighed quietly. Who are you saying is narcissistic? Xian Rinxu's facial features were intertwined, her teeth bared, and she pretended to be fierce. Haha, please give me your hand quickly. It hurts. No, who told you to talk about me? I surrender. Please let go. 3 minutes later. Is that wrong? Suzanne said with an angry expression. Wrong. Xian Rinxu's face was flushed, steaming as if she was overcooked. Her eyebrows were blurred, and she slumped in Suzanne's arms. Do you still dare to pinch me in the future? Suzanne asked. I don't dare anymore, Xian Rinxu quickly assured. That's pretty much it. Nodding with satisfaction, Suzanne said, and patted Xian Rinxu's butt again. Why are you still hitting me? Her eyelashes trembled suddenly. Xian Rinxu exhaled like a blue breath. Her voice seemed to melt into the water, gentle and refreshing. It feels good. I can't stop. Xian Rinxu, shameless. You just know how to bully me. Prince's mansion, your highness, Lord Tang of Yuxuangxuan is here. Just after returning to the mansion, the housekeeper ran over immediately. What is she here for? Suzanne raised his eyebrows, feeling a little doubtful in his heart. The other party didn't come to his house very often, and I'm afraid there might be nothing good to do if he came this time. You go practice. I'll go take a look at the main hall. After pinching Xian Rinxu's pretty face, Suzanne walked towards the main hall. The latter also obeyed and went back to his room to practice. In the main hall. A beautiful woman wearing a long silver palace dress sat here quietly, like an orchid in an empty valley, showing elegance in her behavior. The beautiful woman's face was graceful and luxurious, and her appearance seemed to be nothing more than 10 or 89, but the mature and sexy temptation in her body was already natural. Why did Aunt Yuha have time to come to my place today? It's rare. Before anyone arrived, Suzanne's voice rang out, and Tang Yuha also cast his eyes towards the door. Looking at Suzanne, Tang Yuha frowned visibly, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. I heard that the eldest prince was injured, so I came to see his highness. Tang Yuha smiled back and said calmly, it's just a minor injury. Aunt Yuha doesn't need to worry about it. Suzanne waved his hand, and then sat down next to Tang Yuha. Looking at the mature woman in front of him, Suzanne was suddenly a little surprised. The figure and appearance of the other party are really alluring, especially the aura about him, which makes people want to hug him tightly and love him. If she hadn't known that Tang Yuhua was 30 years old and was still a loser in cultivation, Suzanne would really not believe that her skin was so perfect. Beauties love heroes, and even though Tang Heo has disappeared for 2 years, the latter is still the idol of mainland soul masters. Tang Yuhua is no exception, but unfortunately Tang Heo is her biological brother, and he also likes the soul beast. This is really bloody enough to make a movie called Brother, Love Grass, Sister, Don't Want. Noticing the complex emotions in Suzanne's eyes, including curiosity, surprise, and sympathy, Tang Yuhua's expression changed, and she was a little displeased with this rude move. I see that the aristocratic temperament of His Highness has changed a lot. I'm afraid it will be difficult to graduate. If His Highness's injury is not serious, he still needs to go to Yuxuan to study every day. Tang Yuhua said without doubt. Originally, she was still a little confused about Emperor Zuyi's order, but after meeting Suzanne, Tang Yuhua seemed to understand. The other party acted too casually and seemed to have forgotten the strict etiquette belonging to the royal family. If there wasn't some temperament left in his body and these actions hidden in his behavior could not be changed, Tang Yuhua would even suspect that he was someone else pretending to be him. Please vote for recommendation. Chapter 31. A clever plan is in place. Oh, if you can't graduate, then you can't graduate. Anyway, I don't plan to continue studying. Hearing this, Suzanne shrugged nonchalantly. He hated these aristocratic etiquettes the most. They were so vain. He thought he was awesome because he was different from others. No matter how awesome you are still not awesome, but can only be beaten by someone else's fist. Moreover, he has always convinced people with his reason, and others are also convinced. He has reached the state of subduing others without fighting, and there is no need for these low-level paper tricks. What? You don't plan to study at Yuxuan anymore? Tang Yuhua's eyes grew bigger and bigger, and when Suzanne finished speaking, his eyes almost popped out of his head, staring at Suzanne in disbelief. As a noble, etiquette is the standard for communication, otherwise you will be looked down upon by other nobles. As the eldest prince of the royal family, he actually doesn't plan to continue learning court etiquette. What the hell, are you kidding her? She had only taken over Yuxuan for less than 2 years. If the eldest prince suddenly dropped out of school, how would the other nobles view Yuxuan? Even the the eldest prince dropped out of school. It was a joke. Yuxuan's reputation was completely ruined. Aunt Yuhua, how about you write a certificate of inability to graduate, so that I can explain to my father? Suzanne asked tentatively. Can't get proof of graduation? I'll prove it to you. Isn't this me slapping myself in the face? Even Tang Yuhua, who has perfect aristocratic self-cultivation, is a little nervous at this moment. His chest is rising and falling, and he looks like he is very angry. Taking a deep breath, Tang Yuhua suppressed the anger in his heart. Can you tell me why you don't want to continue studying at Yuxuan? Although the voice was cold, it revealed a strong curiosity. She considered herself not an arrogant person, but it was undeniable that Yuxuan was well organized under her management and had an excellent reputation in Xian City. Even when Suzanne studied with her before, he was always modest and studious and never slacked off. Why did he suddenly change so much today? This is just like in later generations, when the admission notice from Tsinghua Peking University comes, you say that you will herd cattle at home in the future. It's not something that ordinary people can do. I just suddenly realized that I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing something meaningful. After a slight pause, Suzanne seemed to feel something, and then sighed. When I look back on the past, I won't regret wasting my years, nor will I be ashamed of doing nothing. Even when I'm dying, I can proudly say that I have dedicated my life to the most magnificent cause in the world. Suzanne raised his eyes, and an unfathomable aura suddenly filled the air, like an old monk who had read all over the world. Tang Yuhua's eyes lit up, and her voice was a little urgent. Can you tell me what you want to do? Something meaningful and magnificent? Of course, I'm cultivating myself at home, recharging my energy, and working hard to be a good husband and a good father. Even if I'm dying, I can proudly say that my whole life has contributed to the empire's health and stability for hundreds of years to come. Suzanne replied domineeringly with his head held high. Tang Yuhe. Got, the empire is healthy and stable. Don't you just want to be sweet with your wife at home? Plug your nose. Do you think you can pretend to be an elephant? I bother. It seems that His Highness has really changed. He would never say such narcissistic words before. Shaking her head, Tang Yuhe did not continue to persuade her. She was a self-disciplined person, and her words could not defeat the current Xue Qinghe. Your Highness, I will take my leave now. Go. Slowly. Don't send me off. Come here often, when you have time. Suzanne waved enthusiastically, with a smile on his face, and had no intention of getting up to see him off. Tang Yuhe, I really don't know whether to say it or not when there is a saying, Mama sells batches. After sending Tang Yuhe away, Suzanne called the housekeeper Xian Leo and the guard commander. Your Highness, I wonder if you have any important business with these two old men. Xian Leo's rickety body and ravaged old face were full of respect, and the commander of the guard at the site couldn't help but be a little curious. Mr. Xian, go to Nancheng or near Xiandao city and summon some construction craftsmen for me. I need to build a tall building. Suzanne said bluntly. Your Highness, doesn't the palace have royal construction craftsmen? Why do they need to hire others? Although he didn't know what Suzanne wanted to do, Mr. Xian still said what he was thinking. It's there now, but it won't be in the future. Just do as I say. Suzanne waved his hand and sounded very serious. Now his father still doesn't know where he is squatting and secretly stealing level 6 soul cannons. When he finds out about the treasury, he will probably go berserk immediately. It's unlikely that he would come here to steal money, but he would never let it go. Once he knows about using the royal construction craftsmen, he will definitely say something. By then, the free labor force may become tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Therefore, he has to block this road. Apart from the palace builders, it's not like there are no other people in Douluo continent who can build high-rise buildings. For example, the Imperial clan. Mr. Xian nodded, without asking the reason, and said again, I wonder how many people your highness needs. I can go down and make arrangements. Let's gather 1,000 people for the time being. Suzanne replied thoughtfully. The scale of the entertainment city is relatively large, and Suzanne plans to complete the construction as soon as possible, so the number of people will naturally be indispensable. So much. Mr. Xian's expression condensed. He was surprised, and at the same time more curious about what kind of building Suzanne was going to build. The expression on the middle-aged man's face also changed a little. Suzanne turned around and stared at the man in military armor beside him. Commander Wei, please leave for Langsing City immediately and tell the leader of the Yazi clan that I want to hire them to build a house for me. Here. Commander Wei replied immediately. I have 3 tips here, all in numerical order. If their clan leader doesn't agree, you can open the first one. If you still don't agree, open the second one. It will tell you how to do it. Picking up the brocade bag on the table, Suzanne waved his hand, and the brocade bag shot out and was firmly grasped by Commander Wei. Tips. Looking at the kit in his hand, Commander Wei was a little curious about what it contained, but since it was Suzanne's order, he had to do it no matter what, so he quickly agreed. It feels good to be Zhuge Liang. I'll make myself a goose feather fan some other time. Watching Mr. Xian and Mr. Xian leave, Suzanne couldn't help but shook his head, and a feeling of loneliness suddenly arose spontaneously. There are so many secrets in the 3 brochures, and I'm not afraid that the Yu clan will not agree. Ha ha ha. I'm really a genius. Who knows what's in the kit? Please vote for recommendations, give rewards, and give 5-star praise. Chapter 32 Remarks on the launch. The last position was posted in the wrong position. That's right. You read that right. This book is now on the shelves again. Ahem. Okay, let's get down to business. That's right. It's time to sell out again. Xian Ringsu. Husband, we have no rice and can't open the pot. Why hasn't anyone subscribed and rewarded it yet? Suzanne, I'll go. You prodigal bitch. I gave you so many gold coins, but you told me that our family has no rice. Xian Ringsu, there are too many gold coins and the granaries are full, so there is no room to put rice. Suzanne, so our family only has gold coins to eat. Ahem. Suzanne winked. Daughter-in-law, it's time for us to be miserable. We don't have any gold coins, right? Yeah. Xian Ringsu nodded immediately. Suzanne said with satisfaction, okay. Go get a broken bowl, and while we have nothing to do during the day, we will teach everyone how to kneel down to make a living. A minute later, Xian Ringsu came back with a broken bowl. Looking at the golden bowl in Xian Ringsu's hand, Suzanne was speechless. Daughter-in-law, no one will sympathize with us, even if we beg like this. Xian Ringsu pouted her lips in grievance, but in our family, this bowl is indeed the most broken. Suzanne was full of grief and indignation. I declare that the sale has failed miserably. As soon as he finished speaking, a slipper came flying towards him and kicked Suzanne to the ground. I saw the author holding an axe and killing with a fierce look on his face. You have to work hard for me. If you don't get good grades, don't blame me for letting you be a eunuch. As he said that, the author looked at Suzanne's lower body, which was very meaningful. Suzanne, damn it. You force good girls into prostitution. Please subscribe. First order of 700 yuan or more. At least 4 updates per day. Reward 100 plus more. No upper limit. Kneel down and ask for a living. Chapter 33 Taleo Tai. If you like to read this kind of book, I recommend the book Douluo, The Strongest Ancestor. It is a free book. You are welcome to vote. Chapter 34 The soul bone is attached. So fragrant. Harem. Nangangling was taking care of some flowers and plants she had planted when she saw Emperor Zhuyi coming angrily. Your Majesty, why do you look so ugly? You're not the one who's so angry, Emperor. Zhuyi looked gloomy, picked up the tea cow on the stone table and drank it, but he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. Rebellious son. Hearing this, Nangangling immediately put down the kettle, came to the stone table and sat down, with a worried look on her face. Your Majesty, could it be that Wuji has caused trouble again? No. It's King. He actually changed my will without authorization and went to the treasury to withdraw 15 million gold coins. Emperor. Zhuyi's chest heaved violently, and at the end of his roar, he even slapped the table and stood up, starting Nangangling. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Emperor Zhuyi felt that all his orifices were burning. He had always been the only one who plotted against others, but he didn't expect that his son would actually trick him today. Very meow. If someone else had changed the imperial edict without authorization, he would have ordered his body to be quartered, and that would be 3 million gold coins. Revenge. This is definitely revenge. Emperor Zhuyi knew without thinking that Suzanne must have been grudged by him for being a rogue and not paying him, so he deliberately stole from him. Very good. You are fighting with me, right? You successfully aroused my interest, King. With an exclamation, Nangangling quickly asked, how could he do such a thing? Besides, without your Majesty's will, he would not have been able to withdraw so much money from the treasury. 15 million gold coins. Nangangling finally knew why Emperor Zhuyi was so angry, and at the same time she became more and more worried, fearing that Zhuyi would be severely punished. He has my will, Emperor. Zhuyi gritted his teeth and squeezed out these words from between his teeth, and then explained bitterly, the traitor changed the 12 million in the decree to 15 million, and took 3 million more from the treasury. 3 million. Mentioning this number, Emperor Zhuyi felt like his heart was cut by a knife. He had been working hard to leave more heritage to the royal family. Now, someone actually hit me and took away 15 million gold coins. I'm crazy. This is half a year's tax revenue for the empire. Nangangling was also shocked. She didn't expect Suzanne to dare to do such a thing. But, Your Majesty, that's 12 million gold coins. Why did you give King so much money? Nangangling asked with a frown. Well, Emperor. Zhuyi was stunned and immediately realized that he had spilled the beans. With Nangangling's temperament, he would definitely get to the bottom of it. He said he wanted to build some kind of entertainment city, and he specifically asked for it from me. Emperor Zhuyi's face changed slightly and he replied. He said that, and you gave it to him? Or more than 10 million gold coins? Sure. Enough. As soon as Emperor Zhuyi finished speaking, Nangangling's life-threatening question immediately appeared. Emperor Zhuyi, do you think I want to give it to him, but I can't do it without giving it to him? That kid is threatening me nakedly. Woohoo, it's really frustrating for me to be the emperor. Although he was angry in his heart, Emperor Xue still did not lose his mind. Emperor Xue had no intention of telling Nangang Ling about Suzanne's return to the future world. At least we can't say it now. Otherwise, if the news of the Soul Guide canon is leaked, the Empire's losses will be irreparable. Oh. I don't think he's too young, so I want him to do something on his own, so that I can convince the ministers. His expression softened a lot, and Emperor Xue sighed quietly, perfectly interpreting the appearance of a man who thinks about his son. Sure enough, life is like a play, it all depends on acting, so that's it. Nangang Ling slightly, but the money has already been given, so there is no shortage of 3 million. I see that king must have felt that the money was not enough, so he changed his will without permission. Since he took it all, then you can give it to him. Nangang Ling already had her own guess in her heart, and her eyes changed when she looked at Emperor Xue, with a hint of disdain flashing in her eyes, and she said, 12 million is also given, 15 million is given, and 3 million more is not too much. Upon hearing this, Emperor Xue almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What do you mean? 3 million more is not too much? This is a matter of 3 million. This is him provoking me as an old man. Now you dare to change the decree without authorization. From now on, you are not allowed to poop or pee directly on my head. Originally, he was thinking of asking Nangang Ling to get the money back, but now Emperor Xue has completely given up. Sure enough, mothers always look towards their sons. Woohoo, it's so difficult for him to be a father. Prince's mansion. Kan Ringsu went into the room to practice. Suzanne felt uneasy during the leisurely days without his wife. Forget it, I'll go practice too. Alas, shaking his head, Suzanne returned to his bedroom somewhat bored. Readers, depend on. You promised not to practice, but you really don't practice if you have the ability. The protagonist's mouth is indeed a liar, and he despises you. In the bedroom. Alas, during the days when my wife is in seclusion, she can only pass the time by absorbing soul bones. With a faint sigh, Suzanne leaned on the bedside, looked at the 3 boxes on the bed, and began to think. In the box on the right, there is a pair of miniature white wings. Suzanne's first feeling was that he had his huge fan. In the middle box, there is a pair of sharp claws. The sharp blades are shining coldly, even through the box. The domineering power on them is chilling. It's very convenient to eat walnuts while wearing this thing. As for the one on the left, it was an eye that looked extremely weird. Suzanne felt horrified inside. Sure enough, expensive things make sense. Looking at these 3 things, Suzanne took a deep breath and his eyes flashed with passion. He bought these for 50,000, 10,000, and 100,000 gold coins respectively. Calculated this way, each one is worth over 100 million gold coins. That's right. The 3 things in front of me are all attached soul bones. Wings and eyes, given his current situation, are relatively difficult to absorb. Although soul bone absorption does not matter the soul power level, and if you are lucky, you can absorb a 100,000-year-old soul bone with 1 level of soul power, but that kind of thing only happens in the most ideal environment. The improvement in all aspects of attributes brought by the 100,000-year-old soul bone is huge, and coupled with the terrifying energy contained in it, it is very likely to tear him apart directly. However, you can try the 2000-year dark gold terraclaw in the middle, and then use it as a medium to try other externally attached soul bones. But before that, just to be on the safe side, he still needs a soul ring. Putting away her wings and eyes, Suzanne then took out a crystal box the size of a pen holder from the storage ring. In the crystal box, a small black bird seemed to be asleep, with silver patterns wrapped around it, which was obviously the result of being sealed by someone. Tai. ZHI, if you don't speak, you will tacitly agree that I will kill you. After muttering something to himself, Suzanne saw that the bird really didn't respond. He must have lost hope in this world. Therefore, Suzanne upheld the fine tradition of doing good deeds without leaving a name, and sent it to the west. Oh, you're welcome. This is what I should do. Well, 2000 years soul ring. Here I come. Exclamation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. So poor that only money is left. Asking for recommendation votes and rewards. It's so comfortable. After absorbing the soul bones and soul rings, it was already dawn the next day. Suzanne stretched and felt refreshed, not at all tired from staying up late. However, it's time to sleep now. If you don't go to sleep with Xian Ringsu. If you don't sleep with your wife, how can you do that? After getting out of bed, Suzanne had just stepped out of the room. The figure in the yard immediately attracted Suzanne's attention. Xian Ringsu was seen lying on the stone table in the courtyard, wearing a thin shawl, sleeping there like this. Why? Is this girl asleep here? Why don't you just wait for me in your room? Shaking his head, Suzanne felt extremely distressed when looking at Xian Ringsu's persistent pretty face. Such a good wife, one is enough. Without waking her up, Suzanne held Xian Ringsu's leg joints and back with her hands and gently picked her up. Xian Ringsu's eyelashes twitched slightly and she lazily wrapped her hands around Suzanne's neck. I'm sleepy. Let's go to your room. The sound was faint and undetectable, like the moaning of mosquitoes. Xian Ringsu seemed to be too tired, so her eyes just closed slightly and then closed again. Okay, go to my room. Without any thoughts, Suzanne smiled and nodded, and then took Xian Ringsu to his room. Putting her on the bed, and looking at Xian Ringsu curled up like a lazy cat, Suzanne smiled lightly, and lay down quietly, hugging her sweetly into his arms. With her head slightly arched, as if she was looking for a comfortable position, Xian Ringsu had a satisfied smile on her face, and slept peacefully. Suzanne held her like this, and in the blink of an eye, it was already noon. Her nose moved slightly. Xian Ringsu rubbed her sleepy eyes. The hazy black fog in front of her eyes was dispelled, and everything became clear. This guy. When she woke up, she saw Suzanne hugging her, Xian Ringsu pouting her chin, her clear eyes full of smiles. Cultivation consumes too much energy. Unexpectedly, she fell asleep last night while waiting. She only remembered that a familiar figure appeared and took her back to the room. Perhaps she was too familiar and relied on, but she didn't resist at all. It's already noon and I'm not afraid of others laughing at me if I don't get up yet. After pinching Suzanne's nose playfully, Xian Ringsu carefully let go of Suzanne's hands. You're awake. Although the movement was gentle, it still woke up Suzanne, who was sleeping lightly. The corners of Suzanne's mouth raised slightly, and then with her exclamation, he hugged Xian Ringsu again and pulled her back to the bed. Don't be like this. It's noon now. You'd better get up quickly. After pushing gently, she couldn't loosen the restraint at all. Xian Ringsu's face turned red, and she looked at Suzanne helplessly. It's already noon anyway. Let's lie down for a while and wake up the lazy thing. Xian Ringsu's waist was very thin, as gentle as water, as smooth as silk. Suzanne couldn't help but tighten it, acting like a rogue. Xian Ringsu was extremely helpless in her heart, and had no choice but to let Suzanne go, but a flowery smile bloomed on her face. Suzanne scratched Xian Ringsu's waist and asked, by the way, how are you absorbing the fairy herbs? Don't make trouble. Twisting her body slightly, Xian Ringsu smiled and rolled her eyes at Suzanne. In the blink of an eye, her face became excited again. I practice according to the Zhuanshan technique, and I can indeed cultivate soul power. Especially with the help of medicinal herbs, my soul power has been upgraded to the 3rd level. If all is absorbed, I am afraid it can reach level 10 or above. Xian Ringsu's eyes were shining. The effect of Narcissus Jade's muscles and bones was even better than she imagined, especially the improvement of her physical constitution and the clearness of her meridians, which made her use the soul power more freely. As for the soul power, even if she only absorbed less than half of it, she had already reached level 52. If she absorbed all the soul power, she would probably break through level 53. Then, you have to work hard. I have reached level 37 soul power now. If I absorb all the immortal medicinal materials in my body, I will be able to break through to level 40 soon. So, Xian raised the corners of his mouth slightly, pretending to be proud, but in fact, the more he spoke, the more he felt sad inside. Point in the previous life, it was okay to know one's birth status. Unexpectedly, this world was even more sensitive to one's birth status. He has absorbed 2000 years of soul rings and soul bones beyond the limit, plus when he was at the level 30 soul power bottleneck, he absorbed some of the soul power stored in immortal medicinal materials, and now he is only at level 37 soul power. And what about Xian Ringsu? They are both 14 years old, and already over level 50. Being born at level 20, it's like he's being granted a VIP status. Fortunately, the author's father also gave him a VIP status, otherwise how would he have been able to survive? Ahem. Here, I would like to express my deep gratitude to the author's father for his support. Today's award is not only due to my efforts, but also to... Okay, enough gossip, let's get back to the topic. Seeing Suzanne's proud look, Xian Ringsu was secretly pleased with herself, and followed his words with a smile. I know you are so good that no one else can compare to you, but we really should get up. Xian Ringsu reminded. Suzanne shook his head. You get up first, then let go of your hands. Xian Ringsu patted the arm wrapped around her body, and reminded him angrily, I'll let you go when you get up. Suzanne replied seriously. Xian Ringsu, I am. How can I get up if you don't let go? You still don't want to get up if I hold on to you. Snort. Lazy wintermelon. An hour later, Suzanne agreed to get up with satisfaction. As for what happened during the period, in short, not suitable for children, worse than animals. Reader, write it out for me honestly. I will give you some books coins. Hurry, make arrangements. It was already afternoon, and Suzanne didn't plan to prepare a sumptuous lunch. Instead, he cooked some sweet porridge to cool off the heat. Inside the garden pavilion. The two of them were eating breakfast. Oh no, lunch. Xian Ringsu behaved elegantly, was scornful and seemed to be more aristocratic than Suzanne. As for Suzanne, she was munching on bread, taking a few mouthfuls of sweet porridge from time to time, and taking a few bites of the prepared cold dishes, which was full of comfort. Looking at Xian Ringsu, Suzanne always had a smile on her face. She seemed to feel good about everything. She muttered and said, come somewhere with me later. Where to go? Her expression was obviously startled, and Xian Ringsu thought she had heard wrongly, but seeing Suzanne staring at her as she deliberated, she quickly asked, go visit a relative, and introduce you to some people. Suzanne replied, okay, but I have to get ready first. After hearing about the relative, Xian Ringsu seemed to know where Suzanne was going, and agreed without hesitation. Just prepare a little gift. It doesn't need to be too expensive. What matters is that it's thoughtful and practical. My grandpa's family is not short of money. Suzanne reminded. Xian Ringsu nodded, then remembered that the house was completely destroyed, and replied helplessly, didn't you exchange everything in the house for gold coins? Suzanne, woohoo, he is indeed so poor that all he has left is money! Exclamation mark. Chapter 36 My little sister-in-law, General. Asking for recommendation votes and rewards. The Nangan family, the hereditary duke in Xiandao City, is the most noble duke besides the royal family. Xue Qinghe's mother is from the Nangan family. Of course, the Nangan family is also the richest duke in Xiandao City. If Xue hadn't received the support of the Nangan family, I'm afraid he wouldn't have won the throne. The reason why Suzanne came here was to find his grandfather Nangan Yunshan and plan to get a piece of land to build an entertainment city. Xiandao City is a land of high value, and most of the land is occupied by various nobles and forces. There is not much land that the royal family can control. What's more, even if the royal family had it, the old man Xue wouldn't give it to him. He is probably still thinking about how to take revenge on himself. Damn old man. They are all old and bad as expected. However, if he thinks this can stump him, then he is underestimating me. Suzanne. It's not my fault. After a while he asked Xue to kneel down and sing conquer. They entered Nangan's house without any hindrance. Before meeting his grandfather, he met someone Suzanne didn't want to meet, his aunt Nangan Qiu. Nangan Qiu is his mother's sister, but she is a strange existence. His wife Nangang is gentle and elegant, but Nangang Qiu is as cold as a piece of ice and never seems to have a good attitude towards others. In addition, she is also one of the commanders of the Imperial Army. She is a true hero among women, making some handsome men have to bow their heads. The reason why Suzanne dislikes Nangang Qiu is not because of her personality, but because she left an indelible mark on him when he was a child. At that time, he was only 6 years old. He was really worse than a beast. Ahem. Don't think wrongly, he was just dragged to the military camp. Nothing else really happened, and his life was pretty easy. He trained one day and rested for 3 or 4 days. Really, I'm not going to lie to you. Well, he really couldn't continue to deceive himself. It was a day of training, and I lay in bed for 3 or 4 days, and then I fainted from exhaustion again. Those days were simply a shadow of his childhood. In the yard, a woman wearing men's clothing is practicing sword practice. The woman was very cold and charming, with slender eyebrows, eyes as clear as a clear spring, and 3,000 black hairs fluttering freely. She was very beautiful. The tall and exquisite figure is tight and graceful, and the sword dance is sonorous and powerful, and the figure is full of heroism. However, the woman was too cold, and her face seemed to have ice that would last for thousands of years, making it difficult for people to approach her. The woman stopped when she saw Suzanne. Nangang Qiu frowned and asked, "What are you doing here?" The voice was very cold, like the cold wind blowing up when the glacier melted, giving people a chilling feeling, as if they were not welcoming Suzanne's arrival. Nangang Qiu looked at Suzanne, and then turned his eyes to Xian Ringsu, especially the clasped hands between the two. The expression of emotion and anger seemed to have changed somewhat. In the past, Suzanne might still be intimidated by her, but now, he is no longer the Xue Qinghe. Don't take life or death seriously, just do it. If you don't accept it, don't think I'm really afraid of you. What are you looking at? I'm not here to find you anyway. Staring back at Nangang Qiu, Suzanne looked annoyed and pulled Xian Ringsu's hand. In the blink of an eye, her expression turned from gloomy to bright. "This is my mother's sister, just call me aunt." Xian Ringsu, are you sure you just called her aunt, and not that I was temporarily blind in my ears? It was obvious that Suzanne didn't like this aunt very much. Xian Ringsu naturally stood by Suzanne and called her aunt indifferently. She didn't announce her name and didn't say anything more. Just 2 words showed her attitude. "Is this the princess your majesty canonized?" Nangang Qiu frowned visibly, with a gloomy look on his face. It's so uneducated. With dull eyes and no emotion at all, Nangang Qiu sneered, and then said quietly, "I originally thought you had become a real prince, but I didn't expect you are still acting like this. Do you know that you may become an emperor in the future?" When the word emperor was mentioned, Nangang Qiu's tone became obviously more serious, and he couldn't help but feel cynical. Hearing Nangang Qiu say that she was uneducated, Xian Ringsu's face suddenly turned purple. She twisted her fists tightly, and a cold murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Feeling the murderous intent, Nangang Qiu also glanced over, but Xian Ringsu quickly returned to normal, and she didn't notice anything unusual. Were you scolding her for being uneducated? After letting go of Xian Ringsu, Suzanne stared at Nangang Qiu. His red blood-colored eyes extremely cold, and the soul power in his body became restless. His wife, no one has the right to touch her. Education, this is the pain in Xian Ringsu's heart. She could choose to be patient, but as his husband, he definitely couldn't just let it go. Although he knew in his heart that Nangang Qiu was doing it for his own good, the latter blindly imposed his will on himself, which made him feel strange and disgusted. From now on, he will go his own way. Noticing the increase in Suzanne's soul power, Nangang Qiu felt surprised in his heart, but based on the soul master's strength, he was a little overestimated. With disdain on his face, Nangang Qiu said coldly, "What, are you planning to take action against me? Very meow. You, a soul emperor, dare to challenge me? You don't know what social beatings are, do you? Do you think you will win?" Xian waved his hand towards Xian Ringsu, signaling her not to interfere. A cold light flashed in Suzanne's eyes. Under Suzanne's cold gaze, Nangang Qiu suddenly felt a flash of fear in his heart, and then was filled with confidence. Since you want to fight, let me see what you are capable of. The long sword in his hand turned into a ray of silver light, and puff was embedded directly into the boulder on the side point. The long hair flew, the black soul power was released, the sound of crackling beans was heard, and the 6 soul rings on the soles of Nangang Qiu's feet slowly emerged. 6th ring Soul Emperor. Suzanne's eyes narrowed, and he had a black card in his hand. Just when he was about to merge into his body, a voice suddenly came over. Qie, although King is a junior, he is still a prince. Since you are a general, how can you be so rude? The voice is very kind, like the breeze blowing through the bamboo forest, making people feel relaxed and happy. As soon as these words came out, Suzanne and Nangang Qiu immediately restrained their soul power. You are lucky this time. If I hear you scolding her next time, don't blame me for disrespecting you as an elder. With a cold word, Suzanne left here with Xian Ringsu and walked towards the depths of Nangang's house. Am I lucky? Don't respect me. Nangang Qiu raised his eyebrows slightly, then sneered. If his father hadn't spoken, would you have been able to leave with dignity? Although he was contemptuous and disdainful in his heart, looking at Suzanne's leaving figure, Nangang Qiu's eyes flashed with an inexplicable look, and he didn't seem to care about Suzanne's rudeness. 1. This book has a single female protagonist! 2. Nangang Qiu doesn't like Suzanne. The reason why she likes Xue Qinghe is that she has experienced a lot on the battlefield. She doesn't want the next emperor to be too kind and weak. She is a pure general. Chapter 37. This grandpa is so arrogant. In the backyard, there are winding paths and a scent of tea wafts among the flowers and vegetation. An old man in plain clothes is seen sipping hot tea. With streaks of white strands in his colorful black hair, the old man's face remains the same, and he doesn't seem to be aging at all. He looks very friendly. Grandpa. Suzanne smiled and hurried over to greet him, but Nangang Yunshan didn't seem to care about him, and focused on Xian Ringsu. Nangang Yunshan smiled slightly at the corner of his, like ripples, and couldn't help but nodded. I heard yesterday that you had an extra princess. I thought Zhu was confused when he became the emperor mouth. But now it seems that it's your kid's vision. Good. Nangang Yunshan can be regarded as the #1 person in Xiandao City for daring to call Emperor Zhu by his name. There is nothing he can do about it. His father-in-law is awesome. Hey Su. Xian smiled immediately, looking a little naive, and stretched out his hand to pull Xian Ringsu's sleeve. Zua, I've met Grandpa. Xian Ringsu also understood immediately and bowed to Nangang Yunshan yinging respectfully. Okay. A hearty smile appeared on Nangang Yunshan's face, and he seemed very satisfied. He quickly waved to Suzanne, who quickly stepped forward. Gill of hot water flowed down, and the tea leaves swirled in the bowl. Nangang Yunshan did not ask Suzanne to help, but poured a cup of tea for each of them. Try the tea I brought back from the Star Luo Empire. Nangang Yunshan stretched out his hand and then raised the teacup himself. Suzanne also tasted it slightly and couldn't help but admire it. The Xiandao Empire is located in the northwest, and the temperature and climate are not as good as the Star Luo Empire. The same is true for the tea. Under Suzanne's business flattery, Nangang Yunshan couldn't help but blush. He thought it was Suzanne's filial piety and quickly waved his hand to make him stop. The look between the two couldn't hide it from him. Nangang Yunshan smiled and joked. You kid, I haven't seen you for a while, and you are becoming more and more eloquent. It's no wonder that my grandson's daughter-in-law is so obsessed with you in the past few days. Low profile. I just rely on my face to make a living. He's so handsome. What can I do? Suzanne waved his hands quickly, looking helpless. He is not someone who relies on his words. If Xian Ringsu hadn't been obsessed with his looks, would she have been captured so quickly? Seeing Suzanne being so narcissistic, Nangang Yunshan was also shocked, and then laughed. You dare to say it, and you are not afraid of others laughing. After laughing, Nangang Yunshan nodded seriously again and said seriously, that boy Zhu was not as handsome as you when he was young. Look at me, look at your mother. If it weren't for the inheritance of the Nangang family, you wouldn't be so handsome. Xian, damn it. Grandpa, you are talking about yourself in a different way. Nonsense. Never shy. After a brief exchange of greetings, Nangang Yunshan did not immediately ask Suzanne about their visit, but mentioned Nangang Qiu. Your aunt has such a temperament that it's hard for others to like her. If you don't like her, it won't be a day or two. To be honest, I prefer your mother's temperament. Now that I think about it, I really regret letting her join the Imperial Legion and making her become like this. Yao outside, Nangang Yunshan seemed a little lonely. He only has 2 daughters. The eldest daughter is married as a wife. Now the mother of a country is happy, which makes him very satisfied. But this second daughter, already over 40 years old, still no one dared to care about, which also broke his heart. In terms of family, strength, and beauty, there are really few people in Xian City who can compare with Nangang Qiu. But she doesn't have any affection for her children. She only knows how to practice and lead soldiers in war. How can a girl do this? His face softened slightly. Nangang Yunshan looked at Xian Ringsu and said apologetically, Zua, don't pay attention to what happened just now. Qinghe has always been straightforward, and she definitely didn't mean that. It's okay, I won't take it to heart. Seeing Nangang Yunshan apologizing to him, Xian Ringsu dared not accept it. She waved her hands at a loss, and the resentment in her heart also disappeared a lot. King is lucky to have you. Nodding with satisfaction, Nangang Yunshan praised him. Xian Ringsu's face immediately turned red, and she secretly glanced at Suzanne, her eyes sparkling. Suzanne, as expected of a grandpa, this wave of injury-free assists is really awesome. Nangang Yunshan smiled happily, and then looked at Suzanne. Okay, let's tell you why you came to my place. You don't go to the 3 Treasures Palace for anything. The tone was somewhat resentful, and Suzanne also smiled awkwardly, and then told her the purpose of his visit. Land. Nangang Yunshan's expression suddenly became strange. Your family doesn't have the final say on the land in this world. You should go find your father, Emperor Xue, right? Why did you find me? So what? I cheated him out of some money yesterday. I guess I won't be able to get rid of my anger for 10 days and a half, so I came to see you, Grandpa. Suzanne scratched his head honestly and explained. Oh, with an exclamation, Nangang Yunshan suddenly became interested. Tell me, what exactly happened? Hiding the matter of the soul guide, Suzanne only told the story of defrauding Emperor Xue of 3 million. Alas, I still have to hide such a great deed. I feel really uncomfortable. Ha 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 ha. Nangang Yunshan was also startled, and then laughed. Ha ha ha. You did this really well. Your father rarely suffers losses, but I didn't expect that he would fall into your hands this time. Patting Suzanne on the shoulder, Nangang Yunshan was very satisfied and felt happy in his heart. You kidnapped my daughter back then, so you must have a hard time now. How does it feel to be cheated by your own son? Grandpa supports you in this matter. The Nangang family has nothing but money. Nangang Yunshan waved his hand and directly agreed to Suzanne. If your father has any objections, ask him to come to me, and I will talk to him. Being able to make Xue unhappy made him, the father-in-law, feel comfortable. He had no choice but to be so arrogant. Anyway, he only has 2 daughters in this family, and sooner or later the family property will be left to them. If it falls into the hands of that brat Xue, it would be better to give it to his grandson. Suzanne. Wow, you are indeed a grandpa. His temper is mine. I should just follow him. Grandpa is mighty. Suzanne's face was full of admiration, and he was very moved. I will eat here today, and let Grandpa try your grandsons and my cooking. No. The food your mother cooked almost killed me last time. I still want to live a few more years with my old bones. I accept the filial piety, so you don't need to make dinner. Quickly waving his hands, Nangang Yunshan's face turned pale, especially when he thought about the last time. His body couldn't help but tremble. The devil's cooking is enough once. He can't bear the trouble. Even if he starved to death, died outside, or jumped from the wall of Xian City, he would never want to eat it a second time. Please give me a recommendation vote. If you have a recommendation vote, don't forget it. If you pass by. Chapter 38 Couple Mixed Doubles. Arrangement. Asking for recommendation votes and rewards. In the evening, Nangong's main hall. Did you really do this? Looking at the fragrant dishes on the table, Nangong Yunshan seemed to have seen a ghost, and his eyes almost popped out of his head. How come he had never heard of his prince's grandson actually having such skills? There is no doubt that he is his grandson. Others are not so outstanding. Sure enough, the Nangong family's inheritance is amazing. It's just so-so, just make do with it. Suzanne waved his hand nonchalantly, feeling a little complacent. Where is this? He's not bragging. I think he also studied at New Oriental, the top university in Xia State. Except for those who graduated from Lanziyang, he never served anyone else. Seeing the arrogant expression on his face, Nangong Yunshan had the urge to punch him. This shameless character has nothing to do with the Nangong family. He must have followed that boy Zuyi. What a sin. Kia, come and have a meal together, and try King's craftsmanship. Seeing Nangong Qiu walking by, Nangong Yunshan was slightly startled, and then waved. Nangong Yunshan naturally knew that Suzanne and Nangong Qiu were not going to deal with each other, but they were still relatives after all, so it would be good to ease their relationship. Not leaving. Seeing that Suzanne was still at Nangong's house, Nangong Qiu frowned, then focused on the dishes on the table, sniffing slightly with his nose, and frowning deeper. Glancing at Suzanne and the other two, Nangong Qiu finally shook his head. You guys can eat. We still have something to do in the army. Speaking, Nangong Qiu left directly without saving any face for Nangong Yunshan. Suzanne, no wonder you are not married now. Who would dare to marry you with this temper? His face looked a little ugly. Nangong Yunshan sighed inwardly, and looked at the two of them with a smile. Then let's eat. She is usually busy, and doesn't often eat at home. This dish is so delicious. Naturally, Nangong Yunshan was full of praise for the dishes made by Suzanne, and he was very appetizing. Even at his age, he could only lean on the chair with a full stomach in the end, not wanting to move at all. After dinner at Nangong's house, the night was completely dark, and Suzanne and Kan Ringsu left. Before leaving, Suzanne promised in every possible way that next time the whole family would come over together, and if they didn't have time, they could come and chat with him, and then he was let go. Suzanne did not come back in a carriage, but walked back and drove away the accompanying guard sergeants. Just the two of them. The night in Xian City is beautiful. Under the illumination of the Soul Guide lights, the Western Gothic buildings are clearly layered, and the interlacing of light and dark is deep and mysterious. It seems that there are huge secrets hidden. Holding Kan Rinx's hand, the two walked aimlessly on the street. The night was dark, noisy but quiet. What are you thinking about? Noticing that Kan Rinxu was absent-minded, Suzanne couldn't help but speak. After hesitating and hesitating, Kan Rinxu finally couldn't help it, and asked with a strange expression, are my aunt and my queen really biological sisters? One is gentle and lovely, the other is as cold as ice. Their personalities are really different. Not to mention that she didn't believe it. Even if other people encountered this kind of thing, they would still react like this. PFFT. Upon hearing this question, Suzanne burst into laughter. Kan Rinxu asked with a straight face, why are you laughing? Facing each other, Suzanne held Kan Rinxu in her arms, and couldn't help but feel a little funny. I have asked my mother this question before. Do you want to know how my mother answered? What did the Queen Mother say in response? Lying on Suzanne's chest with both hands, Kan Rinxu smiled, peerless and charming, her jewel-like eyes full of curiosity. The Queen Mother said, you have eyes you don't know how to see. As he said this, Suzanne imitated Nangongling and rolled his eyes, making Kan Rinxu laugh. The personality differences between the two of them are really huge, which makes people suspicious. Recalling Nangongling's appearance, Kan Rinxu couldn't help but defend. Nangong Qiu looks like Nangongling, but she doesn't look like her. The former's face was more three-dimensional, as if it were chiseled with a knife and axe, and his eyebrows were trimmed like a sword, which made him look cold and charming, while Nangongling was graceful and elegant, looking like a lady. But the two of them are similar in some places, such as their lips, teeth and eyes, but compared to their overall appearance, these things are easily overlooked. After rubbing Kan Rinx's head, Suzanne did not continue the topic, and asked with a smile, where should we go next? I listen to you. Your wife has been brought out. Why should she go back home? Panasonic, Tanaka, Watanabe, which one of these is not more exciting than home? Ahem. Breaks. The reason why Suzanne didn't choose to go back was because he felt it was too boring, so he might as well take Xian Rinxu to play in the city. In this world, there are no mobile phones, computers, or even electricity, so nightlife consists of Gowlin and spirit fighting arenas. Suzanne went to Gowlin a few days ago, and there was nothing special about it. It's okay not to go. Do you think he is afraid that Xian Rinxu will storm out? No. As a man, he can still make the decision on this matter. Isn't it just a beating? Hoo-pa-hoo. As for the spirit fighting arena, I've seen quite a lot of it in novels, but I've never been to one. Xian Rinxu shook her head and stared at Suzanne intently. I'm not familiar with Xiandao City, so I'd better listen to you. I'll go wherever you go. The tip of her chin was pressed against Xian Rinxu's forehead. Suzanne's face was like a spring breeze, and she hugged Xian Rinxu lovingly. Then let's go see the fighting spirit. When the entertainment city is built, there will be a lot of fun. I'll take you out to play again. Xian Rinxu agreed softly, and then Suzanne led her towards the Great Soul Fighting Arena point under the light of the Crooked Soul Guide. The backs of the two gradually lengthened, and finally merged into the night, disappearing just like their figures. The Great Soul Fighting Arena of Xiandao City is the largest soul fighting arena in the mainland. Of course, it is tied. In the spirit fighting arena, there are ordinary spirit fighting competitions, as well as life and death battles. The former is more common to participate in, while the latter is mostly used to resolve disputes between nobles, which may be over territory or women. Only the surviving party can withdraw, so it is more cruel and bloody. How about we form a team and participate in a soul battle between two people? Suzanne discussed. It's pointless to go to the spirit fighting arena to watch, so it's better to teach them how to behave yourself. If you travel through time and don't use this martial spirit, then it's useless. Mixed doubles for couples must be arranged. This is not good. I'm so weak and only have level 3 soul power. I'm not dragging you down. Xian Rinxu quickly shook her head. With her current soul power level and lack of soul skills, she would not be allowed to participate in the soul fighting arena. It's okay. It's just 2 against 1. Just watch me fight. Suzanne waved his hand. Extremely domineering. How can I let my wife do this matter of beating the Soul Lord? This is totally not up to her level. If he doesn't show off now, if she shows her cards, he will become a freeloader. Woohoo, the humble male protagonist. I'm seeking comfort online. What? If you get injured? Otherwise, you should participate in a one-on-one spirit battle. I will cheer you on. Xian Rinxu replied worriedly. With Suzanne's current strength, she had a high chance of winning in a one-on-one soul fight, and she really didn't want to hold Suzanne back. Chapter 39 Honest Heart. Please vote for recommendation. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest, and disaster strikes. Before he finished speaking, Suzanne stopped immediately. These words were really unlucky, and he quickly said, "We are husband and wife. How can we let you watch alone in the audience? What is going on?" Seeing how persistent Suzanne was, Xian Rinxu had no choice but to give up. "Okay, I'll just listen to you. However, you must not take risks. It's just a soul fight and it's not worth it," Xian Rinxu then warned. Hearing Xian Rinxu's words, Suzanne always felt a little strange. It didn't feel like the words came from her mouth. In his impression, Xian Rinxu should be a very strong master. Could it be that I have broken him? The words are a little wrong, but that's probably the meaning. Don't you hope that I can be invincible, defeat invincible opponents in the world, and be an upright hero? Suzanne stared at Xian Rinxu with strange eyes, not knowing whether to be moved or helpless. Feel moved with what she said. She would probably never run away if she was a soft-boiled person in this life. Helpless, it sounds like he is not good at it. Is it possible that he is too low-key in his daily life? It seems like you should just put on a good show. Xian murmured to himself, becoming more and more determined to fight for the soul. How could he show his true nature as a man if he didn't punch a child? You cannot show shameful things to others, let alone your own wife. Of course, I hope Xian Ringsu blurted out without hesitation, and then added, "It's just that compared to these, I hope you live well." The smile on his face was like ripples, and Xian Ringsu shed tears of affection, staring blankly at Suzanne, as if he was the only one in her eyes. Ahem. Being disturbed by Xian Ringsu's love words, he, whose face was already as thick as a city wall, couldn't bear it. His face turned a little red, and a warm current flowed through his heart. PFFT. Seeing Suzanne's shy look, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but smile. "This is the first time I've seen you shy. You're quite cute." Saying that, Xian Ringsu stretched out her jade hand and pinched Suzanne's cheek. Her Kyushu's clear pupils were full of smiles. "Suzanne, I met a female gangster, or should I follow her? Let's go to the spirit fighting arena." Noticing that Suzanne's gaze gradually became fiery, as if she was about to be cooked, Xian Ringsu Fang's heart trembled, and she quickly pulled Suzanne away, for fear that he would tease her on the street. "I teased the Lun family, and then I fooled them like this. How heartless." Pulling her throat, Suzanne's voice became very thin, like a woman who had been hurt by love, full of resentment. Xian Ringsu, believe it or not, I punch a monster with one punch. No, she doesn't seem to know what Yingli is. Seeing Suzanne pretending to be flirtatious, Xian Ringsu's face turned dark and red, feeling helpless and unable to laugh or cry. How can there be such shameless people in this world? Can you be more serious? Xian Ringsu said angrily, her face red with embarrassment. "No, who made you want to pat your butt and leave just now?" Suzanne muttered. "What did you say?" With her hot cheeks, Xian Ringsu was extremely embarrassed and said, "If you do this again, the Lun family will ignore you." "Ignore me? I don't believe what you said. Women always say they don't want it, but their bodies are so honest." "Okay, I won't tease you anymore." Holding Xian Ringsu's delicate dimples, Suzanne smiled lightly and couldn't help but pinch her face, just like she did to him just now. "You know how to tease me. Why don't you tell me about yourself?" Xian Ringsu pouted, as if she had been treated unfairly, and stared at Suzanne with phoenix eyes, quite dissatisfied. Suzanne, sorry, I always have double standards. Seeing Xian Ringsu's cute little face, Suzanne hugged her into his arms, breathed in the fragrance greedily, and asked softly, "Then do you want me to continue teasing you in the future?" You. Xian Ringsu's face suddenly turned red, and she quickly pushed Suzanne away. She stared at him with her beautiful eyes, hesitating and speechless. Shame. So shameful. Xian Ringsu didn't expect that Suzanne was so shameless and could say such obscene love words to Menglang. She was a girl after all, so she couldn't bear it. She was extremely ashamed, but she couldn't help but feel a little sweet. "If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your acquiescence." Suzanne raised the corner of his mouth slightly and quickly hugged Xian Ringsu. "Let's go with a cheer." Suzanne ran forward along the street like a child with a cheerful smile on his face. "Yeah. Put me down quickly, and I will leave on my own. If you don't let me go, I won't let you go, even if I beat you to death. If you don't let me down, I'll cry for you." "You cry? It's no use crying until your throat breaks. Xiandao City is my territory." "I really cried. Don't regret it. Do I really let you down? You don't allow it. Leave quickly." Suzanne, sure enough, I don't say it with my mouth, but I'm very honest in my heart. Soul Fighting Field. There are a large number of sub-spirits in Xiandao City's Great Spirit Arena, 49 in total. Including the main spirit arena, there are a total of 50. Entering the 10th District Soul Fighting Arena, Suzanne took out 2 masks from the storage ring. "Put them on, otherwise they will be easily recognized. There is no problem for the prince to come to fight souls, and his younger brother Zhuwuji also comes often. But if he brought his wife with him, all the nobles in Xiandao City would know him, so some jokes might come up, and he wouldn't be able to stand Nangang Ling's scolding. Besides, since he is so handsome, it would be very difficult for him to deal with any beautiful woman who fell in love with her. Finally, my wife is so beautiful, and her beauty only belongs to me, so how can I expose it for everyone to see?" Xian Ringsu did not refuse. She wished she could put on a mask to avoid being noticed. "This mask is quite exquisite and looks great. Looking at the golden phoenix mask with half makeup and headdress in front of her, Xian Ringsu's eyes lit up, and she couldn't help but admire it. However, after getting it, Xian Ringsu's face suddenly condensed, and she asked curiously, "This mask seems a little abnormal, right?" She discovered that there was actually soul power flowing inside this mask. This is a defensive mask. It can withstand a full strength attack from a super title Douluo. If you encounter danger in the future, you can also take it out. Suzanne explained. The full name of the mask is a soul guide that triggers emergency defense. It stores soul power inside. Once it is attacked by a powerful attack, the formation will automatically activate defense. This is an 8th level peak soul tool. The reason why it is not level 9 is that it is gone after 1 defense. Of course, this attack requires a super Douluo to use his full strength. For an ordinary title Douluo, it shouldn't be a problem to withstand more than a dozen attacks. Woo woo woo. Please vote for recommendation. Everyone support. Chapter 40 Shrek Academy Genius. Please recommend and reward. Resist the attack of title Douluo. As soon as these words came out, it was no less than a thunderbolt from the blue. Xian Ringsu was immediately dumbfounded. With her lips and teeth trembling slightly, Xian Ringsu stared at Suzanne in disbelief. Her breathing quickened. "Where did you get this thing?" Being able to withstand title Douluo level attacks was something she couldn't do. Even if she had a soul bone, such a small mask has such powerful abilities. In addition, the fairy herbs and Taoist Zuanshan that Suzanne brought out before were completely new to her. Everything was too suspicious. Knowing that Xian Ringsu was going to ask, Suzanne looked at Xian Ringsu's curious and confused look and couldn't help but sigh. Point at this time, he could find too many reasons, and he could deal with them at will, just like he did to Emperor Zuyi. However, he doesn't intend to do this. Looking at Xian Ringsu sincerely, Suzanne looked apologetic. "I promise not to lie to you in the future. Is it okay if I wait until I want to tell you?" The eyes were gleaming, as if the river of time was rolling and rushing, setting off waves of guilt and sincerity. He is not ready to be honest now, because he has always been a time traveler, and he is afraid that Xian Ringsu may not be able to accept it. Hearing this, Xian Ringsu was not angry at all, but was very touched inside. Suzanne still remembered her promise, and did not deal with her casually. He really remembered what he said to himself. Her eyes were slightly red, but her charming smile bloomed on Xian Ringsu's face, just like 100 flowers in bloom. Gently holding Suzanne's hand, Xian Ringsu clasped his hands together as carefully, as if caring for a flower, staring affectionately at the man in front of her. "Then let's wait until you figure it out. In the future, I won't ask again." As you, a kind of warmth of home flowed into her heart, and Suzanne was moved. A knowing smile appeared on her face, and she nodded seriously. "This is the charm of a good wife. She will never make it difficult for you. She will only accompany you silently, hold your hand, and grow old with you. I'll put it on for you." With a slight movement of the corner of her mouth, Suzanne took the mask and gently put it on Xian Ringsu. The eyes of the phoenix on the mask seemed to be integrated with hers. The golden decorative tail feathers were inserted into the tip of the head and reflected in the soft blonde hair, which was not abrupt at all. "I'll put it on you too." With the corner of her mouth slightly raised, Xian Ringsu playfully took Suzanne's mask. It was a golden flying dragon, equally beautiful. Seeing Xian Ringsu's hand stretched out, Suzanne couldn't help but move her mouth and gently brushed her palm. "So sweet, thanks." Heart suddenly trembled. Xian Ringsu glared at Suzanne, shy and helpless. After calming down, she put it on him. "This is the Zhuge divine crossbow. If there is any danger, take this out." Thinking that Xian Ringsu's fighting spirit would definitely not expose her strength, Suzanne took out a Zhuge divine crossbow from the storage ring. In a soul level battle, its power is enough to kill, and more importantly, it does not require the support of huge soul power. Without asking, Xian Ringsu took the Zhuge divine crossbow and immediately put it into her storage ring. Immediately, the two came to the front desk of Area 10 to register for fighting spirit. After some simple information registration and testing, Suzanne got an iron fighting soul badge. However, when seeing Suzanne Wuhan doing things like a swan, the young lady in charge looked obviously a little surprised. Of course, this matter is beyond her control. Only by being careful with your words and actions can you live a long life. After all, the royal family is also one of the bosses of the soul fighting arena. However, when she saw Xian Rinxu's message, 1,000 mud horses galloped past in her heart. Damn it, registerable with level 3 soul power. Are you kidding me? Just like you don't even have any soul skills, and fighting souls depends on hard hitting. Who can you beat? MMP in her heart, the lady in charge, had a naughty smile on her face. I'm really sorry, madam. The minimum requirement for the soul fighting arena is that you must be a soul master to participate. Otherwise, you should participate, right? If she had known this would be the result, Xian Rinxu was not surprised and looked at Suzanne with some frustration. Suzanne. No, not even to death. You're just kidding. You're just having fun by yourself. This is like going to the movies and buying a 5-row 20-seater hotel for yourself and a 13-row 14-seater hotel for your girlfriend. You think you are romantic, but in fact you are completely stupid. The rules of the soul fighting arena are also set by people. The two of us are just participating in a 2-person soul battle. I will fight 1 against 2. Suzanne did not get angry and said pleasantly, the lady in charge was a little hesitant, but when she saw Suzanne taking out the gold medal and gold coins, she immediately knew what she should do. Your Majesty, I'll do it right away. After a few operations, the lady in charge immediately recorded Xian Rinxu's information into the information database. After Suzanne and the others left, she immediately reported the matter to the supervisor. Arriving at the Tuanta Spirit Fighting area, Suzanne and the two registered Tuanta Spirit Fighting badges, and then came to the fence to watch the spirit fighting point on the field. 2 teams were fighting fiercely. They were both teams of great soul masters. The 2 martial souls were the animal martial souls Earthbear and Teeth Dog, and the other 2 were the plant type martial souls Piranha and Red Thorn. Defense and agility attack type soul masters versus control and power attack type soul masters are indeed a good battle. The 2 sides were fighting inextricably on the field, and the soul power of the soul skills collided fiercely, setting the entire auditorium on fire. Although Xian Rinxu had no feelings or interest in watching the crappy battle on the stage, she had a cheerful smile on her face and snuggled quietly next to Suzanne. Your Highness, why do you have time to come here? While the 2 were watching, a surprised voice suddenly sounded from behind. Suzanne turned around and looked a little weird. The person who came was a man, about 20 years old, with handsome and resolute features. Tall figure, short brown hair, slanted in front of his forehead, and tied into a short ponytail at the back. Wearing the unique teacher uniform of Xiandao Royal Academy, he is meticulous and self-disciplined, and looks fresh and clean. The reason why it is strange is that this person's name is Qingming. That's right, he is the most outstanding disciple who graduated from Shrek Academy. For now, 10 years later, he will be the 2nd youngest Soul Emperor in the mainland. After graduating from Shrek, he joined the Royal Academy last year. Although he is young, he is already impressive 20 years old, level 47 Soul Sect. This is enough for him to gain a foothold and make other teachers in the Royal Academy dare not look down upon him. Teacher Qin is here to watch the fighting spirit, so Xian greeted curiously. Qingming shook his head with a smile. How could he have such free time? He said bluntly, the Soul Master competition has almost begun. I came here specially to train the students. So that's it. Hearing this, Suzanne suddenly became enlightened. There are 2 people in this year's participating team who know martial arts fusion skills. Unexpectedly, the academy actually gave this task to Qingming. It seems that Qingming is really valued. Please vote for recommendation. SHHHHHH Chapter 41. Sorry, you got the wrong person. Your Highness came to see Fighting Soul. Why are you wearing a mask? After a brief greeting, Qingming couldn't help but ask when he saw Suzanne wearing a mask on his head. This is not the intention. So, Xian blurted out without hesitation, but was stunned mid-sentence. I'm still wearing a mask. Suzanne pointed at herself, her face full of horror. I have a mask on my face, but you can recognize me. You can't even tell when a man in a TV show is disguised as a woman. Even if I'm wearing a mask, I can be recognized. I am. The supporting character has such a high IQ now. How can he survive as a time-traveling protagonist? Well, Qingming was stunned for a moment, then pointed at Suzanne's waist with a smile. His Highness's token is still hanging on his waist. It's hard not to recognize it. Looking down, Suzanne's face suddenly darkened. He had taken out the badge when he registered just now and wore it habitually after that. Wearing a mask and carrying a token around your waist, what's the difference between taking off your pants and farting? It's completely unnecessary. This is definitely not my IQ. The author's dad should delete this paragraph. It's so embarrassing. The atmosphere suddenly seemed a little silent, and Suzanne put away the token without leaving any trace. What did you say to me just now? Suzanne asked blankly. Qingming was slightly startled, not knowing what Suzanne meant. Your Highness, why are you wearing a mask? Not this sentence, the previous sentence. Suzanne waved his hand with a very serious attitude. Last sentence? Frowning slightly, Qingming thought for a moment, and the last sentence seemed to be the first sentence. It seems that I'm asking His Highness why he has time to come here? Suzanne nodded with satisfaction. That's it. He didn't run away. I'm sorry, you got the wrong person. My name is not Your Highness, nor is it Xue Qinghe. You'd better look elsewhere. Suzanne said seriously. Qingming, damn it. You can still take back the fart you let out. I've been chatting with you here for a long time, and you tell me you're not Xue Qinghe. What's wrong? Why, you think I'm so fooled, don't you? Woohoo, Qingming said. The urban routine is too deep. I want to go back to the countryside. The atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward, but it was immediately broken by a burst of laughter. Xian Ringsu was seen covering her small mouth, and couldn't help but laugh. Her beautiful shoulders were shaking slightly, as if she was holding back from laughing out loud. Huh? Who is this lady? There was some resentment in his heart, but Qingming also noticed Xian Ringsu next to Suzanne, and couldn't help feeling a little rude, so he asked apologetically. Suzanne, I mentioned my wife. It seems I can't hide it anymore, so I can only show my cards. Alas, forget it. I'm Xue Qinghe. Teacher Qingming, you win. Teacher. Qinghe doesn't seem to know about the canonization. This is the princess of the Xiandao Empire, and she is also my wife Xue. While Suzanne was introducing, Xue also stopped smiling and nodded slightly to Qingming as a greeting. Qingming's face was startled, and he saluted quickly. It turns out to be the prince's concubine. I was really rude just now. Please forgive me. He had been studying tactics in the academy for the past few days, and he didn't pay much attention to the news in Xiandao City. He didn't expect that such a big event would happen. Suzanne waved his hand without blame, and then asked curiously, Teacher Qin, how is the strength of Huangdao team now? In the Pan-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy competition, the champions are basically in the hands of Wuhan Palace. Before, the Royal Academy could compete with Wuhan Palace, with 37 wins, 46 wins, and so on. However, Suzanne knew that his mother-in-law Bibidang worked hard to govern after coming to power, and then successfully developed Wuhan Palace into an unstoppable behemoth. Perhaps, starting from this year's Soul Master competition, the world will be dominated by Wuhan Palace. Even when Feng Xiaoshan and Yu Xianheng mentioned the Wuhan Palace team later, they were intimidated and would collapse without a fight. No matter how talented you are, you will never be able to overcome your strength, because they are more talented than you. Qingming sighed slightly, with a worried look on his face. The academy is also looking for ways to improve the strength of the team. Now there are 5 soul sects and 2 soul sects in one team. There is no problem with teamwork, but the overall combat effectiveness is not very good. Sigh. If the martial soul fusion technique is the cooperation of the 2 soul sects, the college's winning rate will be greatly improved. When it comes to martial soul fusion skills, Qingming is a little helpless. Martial soul fusion skills are rare, but hard to come by. It is really a blessing for the academy to have such students. It's just a pity that the explosive power of the martial soul fusion skills of the 2 soul masters is still far behind. In the last Soul Master competition, the Wuhan Hall was already filled with Soul Sect teams, and there were even 2 level 47 and level 48 teams. In comparison, Huangdao's team had no advantage. Even with the martial soul fusion skills, the soul master level could only suppress 2 soul sects, and might not even be able to defeat them. Therefore, Qinming added difficult training to the 2 of them, intending to promote them to the soul sect as soon as possible through fighting. It's still a little weak. Hearing this, Suzanne couldn't help but shook his head, and he underestimated in his heart. According to his judgment, in this soul master competition, there will be a Soul King on the cliffside of Wuhan Palace Point. Even if all the Imperial fighters are soul sects, they will lose 9 times out of 10. What's more, maybe the Wuhan Temple team will also have Wuhan fusion skills, and then they may lose even more completely, and they will really be unable to recover from the fall. Hisses the eldest prince of the Xian Empire. How could he tolerate such a thing happening? No. They must hire a beautiful cheerleading team to cheer them on. It doesn't matter if they lose in the team battle, the cheerleading team must not lose. This is a matter of face. Regarding the Soul Master competition, Suzanne still maintained his congratulatory attitude. It would be good if he won, but don't be depressed if he lost. It was destined to happen anyway. Therefore, cheerleading is related to the overall situation, which allows them to get inner encouragement after failure, and prevent them from really collapsing. Cheerleaders are indeed very important, just like the cheerleaders are very important. If you don't understand this, you can search for Wang Eluodenset, is very important alas for the future of the empire. I have really racked my brains. Just for this, the old man must give me an award. At least a few $100 million will be rewarded. Shaking her head, Suzanne felt that she had too many things to worry about. Of course, he definitely didn't want to see the cheerleaders perform. He is not this kind of person. Absolutely not. Please vote for recommendations, give rewards. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Dignity. How much is this thing worth? Tonight's 5th battle of souls will be between Ryu and Xulian. Ryu is a newly formed combination this month. Although they are rookies, Ryu has already won 3 consecutive victories this month. Their strength cannot be underestimated. What's even more enviable is that the Ryu duo are 2 beautiful girls. The battle between the 2 is really enjoyable to watch. I don't know what kind of surprises tonight will bring us. After a slight pause, the host was shocked and continued speaking as instructed by the adults above. As for the Snow Love team, they are a newly formed team. I hope they can have a good battle tonight and achieve good results. If it were normal, the host would definitely tease the new group Snow Love group, but now he can only say this. There was no way. The higher-ups had spoken, and even all the information from the Snow Love group had been blocked, so he had nothing to continue talking about. At the observation deck, seeing that Suzanne seemed to be preparing to leave, Qinming couldn't help but ask, "Your Highness is leaving now, why don't you continue to take a look? The outcome of this soul battle is already determined, and it's not interesting to watch it." Suzanne waved his hand with a determined look on his face, which made Qinming look confused. "We haven't even fought yet, so how come the outcome is already doomed?" Seeing Suzanne being so confident and narcissistic, Xian Ringsu couldn't help laughing. This guy boasted that he never blushed. Suzanne took Xian Ringsu away, and Qinming didn't say much, and continued to watch the scene below. Has the Snow Love group arrived? Seeing that Suzanne and the other 2 did not show up, the host immediately called Mei and asked, "Arrive." As soon as he finished speaking, a bright and greasy voice was heard, and then Suzanne took Xian Ringsu's hand and walked out. Ahem. Seeing Suzanne and the 2 of them, Qinming's eyes widened suddenly, and then he coughed violently, feeling a bit muffled in his heart. I am. Co-authors, you are the Snow Love group. Especially when he thought about what Suzanne said just now. The result is already determined. Qinming felt even more speechless. Wasn't this a disguised way of saying that he had won? This is so narcissistic. Where is your face as a prince? In the spirit fighting arena, Suzanne Rao looked at the opponent with interest and couldn't help but feel a little excited. This was his first multiplayer game in another world, and it was with 3 women. The meaning should be almost right. The Rao group is a group of 2 sisters who are about 17 or 18 years old. The taller sister has a melon-shaped face and cold eyes with a hint of charm. Her every move exudes charm and touches people's heartstrings. As for the younger sister, she has a round face, big apple eyes, and long silver hair like her older sister, which naturally hangs down to her waist. She looks very kawaii and cute. As soon as they appeared on the stage, the 2 attracted the screams of the crowd. However, compared to his wife Kan Ringsu, she is still far behind. The girl with a slightly mature appearance stepped forward and shouted coldly, "Lin Ro, Martial Spirits No Rabbit, Level 33 Agility Attack System War Spirit Master." Immediately, my sister Linzu also stepped forward slightly, intertwined her hands in front of her, and a cute and gentle voice sounded, "Linzu, Martial Spirits No Bear, 30 Level Attack System War Spirit Master." Looking at the 2 of them, Suzanne had a very strange expression, and a line from the X suddenly sounded in his mind. Did these 2 people's tadpoles go astray? My sister is cold and charming, but her name is soft, and her martial soul is a cute snow rabbit. Are you sure the name was given to you, and not to Wuhan? My sister is cute, but her name is Snow, and her martial spirit is a violent snow bear. So, will I see a kawaii little loli going berserk next? Hiss, how dare you do it, Amitabha. The poor monk seems to be able to convince people again. Ah, you looking down on our sisters. Seeing that Suzanne was in a daze without introducing herself, Lin Rao frowned slightly, and her face seemed to be stained with a layer of ice. Suzanne suddenly came back to his senses. Suzanne, Wuhan Swan, level 37 agility attack type battle soul master. Wow. As soon as these words came out, the scene immediately caused a stir. Even the expressions of Lin Rao and Linzu changed, and became a little solemn. Level 37. Could it be that the agility attack flying martial spirits one comes from the royal family? The host would seize the opportunity and immediately started shouting loudly, "Everyone in the audience, have you heard this? Suzanne from Zulan's group is actually a level 37 fighting soul master, 4 levels higher than Lin Rao from Rao's group. It looks like there will be a battle between dragons and tigers." As for Wuhan, he was not stupid enough to shout out loud, otherwise he might be waiting for a cool song. It is already obvious that the person above is speaking, wearing a mask, and a martial soul swan. Boom. Start. Quickly. What are you waiting for? Lin Rao and Linzu, we support you. Don't be afraid. Defeat this guy. Boy, come on. Don't embarrass our great master. In the auditorium, everyone's faces were flushed, and they were extremely excited. They roared like a tornado, and seemed to be impatient. Hearing the noise in his ears, Qin Ming on the observation deck looked horrified, staring at Suzanne with wide eyes, as if he had seen a ghost. Impossible. How could his strength improve so quickly? Qin Ming felt very unbelievable in his heart. He clearly remembered that the last time Xue Qinghe showed his strength, he was still a level 29 Great Soul Master in just 1 month. He has suddenly reached level 37 Soul Master. This level of cultivation has been improved by riding a rocket, right? Damn it. Damn it. Pointing to Kan Ringsu on the side, Suzanne reminded kindly, she will not participate in this soul fight. It will be between you 2 and me. If I lose, I lose. What do you mean? Don't think that, because your soul power is higher than ours, you can look down on others. We don't need you to give in. As soon as these words came out, Lin Rao was furious and her face was as cold as ice. As soul masters, they also have dignity. 2 against 1. They can't do such a thing. What we need is a fair fight. Lin Zhu couldn't help but speak, with a cold tone and a sullen look on her cute face. Alas, these silly girls have never experienced any beating from society. Seeing the stubbornness of the 2 of them, Suzanne shook his head helplessly. If he had been 2 against 1, he would have just thrown a soul skill to crush them. Fair dignity. How much is this thing worth? If you attack her, I won't be responsible for getting hurt. Before taking action, Suzanne couldn't help but remind her the power of the Zhuge divine crossbow was so great that the 2 soul masters could not stop it. If he was crippled or died of heart failure, it was none of his business. You don't have to worry about this matter. If we lose 2 versus 2, we will be unlucky, and we can't rely on others. Lin Zhu gritted her teeth and retorted resolutely. Her stern pretty face was very stubborn, and the angry fire in her eyes became more and more intense. Suzanne, it's hard to be a good person these days. Please vote for recommendations and give rewards. It's too difficult. Chapter 43 The Terrifying Soulbone Skill. With the sound of fighting spirit beginning, Suzanne's first battle officially started. Suzanne did not immediately possess the spirit, but quietly watched the changes on the other side. With their peeing habits, they would not take action against him in his normal state later, otherwise they would feel that they were unable to win. Lin Rao's martial spirit is a snow rabbit. After the martial spirit possesses her, a layer of white fur appears on her body, and her ears become pointed and covered with snow white fluff. As for Lin Zhu, she became taller and chubby at the same time. She also had white hair on her body, her hands were as thick as buckets, and her small facial features were squeezed together, making her look cute and fierce. Seeing Lin Zhu's appearance, Suzanne couldn't help but think of Fat Buu in Dragon Ball, who really looked like her at the moment. Seeing that Suzanne remained motionless, Lin Rao raised a cold eyebrow and said, "You are not possessed by a martial spirit. Are you planning to admit defeat? Give up." The corners of Suzanne's mouth raised slightly, a pair of white and soft wings stretched out from both sides. White light shot up into the sky, and Suzanne came to the sky above the soul fighting platform. Lin Zhu. Hearing his sister Lin Rao's call, Lin Zhu suddenly understood. The yellow soul rings on the soles of his feet shone brightly, and the originally thick palms were once again covered by the white solid giant palms. Boom. Her palms were intertwined in front of her body, perfectly covering the important parts of her body. The sound of heavy footsteps rippled, and Lin Zhu rushed towards Xian Ringsu, intending to test her strength. Suzanne can fly, but the two of them can't reach it at all, so the target can only be placed on Xian Ringsu. Because of Suzanne's reminder, Lin Zhu also became cautious and directly used the second soul skill to guard with both arms to avoid accidents. This guy, he promised to fight 1 against 2, but he went to the sky. Seeing Lin Zhu's attack, Xian Ringsu was helpless. She couldn't reveal her strength, so after thinking about it, she took out the Zhuge divine crossbow. Lin Zhu, retreat quickly. Seeing Xian Ringsu taking out the crossbow, Lin Rao's eyelids twitched suddenly, and a dangerous aura lingered in her heart, and she shouted quickly. Looking at the Zhuge divine crossbow, Lin Zhu felt cold in her heart. Her intuition told her that this thing could threaten her, even kill her. Aha! Her footsteps suddenly stopped, just like a car suddenly slowing down when it arrived at the stop. Lin Zhu stopped her progress and stepped back quickly. Phew. Suddenly, there was a scratching sound in the sky, and streaks of white light flew down from the sky, like shooting stars. If you look carefully, you will find white feathers among the white light, but at this moment, they are sharper than any sword. Originally, Suzanne wanted to use the first soul skill Xian Yu to block Lin Zhu's attack for Xian Ringsu, but as Lin Zhu retreated, the target now became 2 people. Although Xian Ringsu has a mask to protect her, even if she is attacked by them for several years, she will be fine, but this is really too bullying. Moreover, he was also a little worried. What if there was an accident, and she was injured? Bang. Needless to say, Lin Zhu's thick palms had been stretched out, and blocked in front of Jin Rao. The feathers and palms stirred up sparks, like sparks exploding, which was dazzling. Call out. Suddenly, Lin Rao's figure disappeared from behind Lin Zhu and struck Xian Ringsu like lightning. The second soul ring on the sole of her foot had already lit up. Not good. Unfortunately, before she could reach Xian Ringsu, Lin Rao felt danger approaching. She stepped forward like lightning, and flew away in a way that defied science. Boom. Suzanne swung his fist in the air, his eyes showing surprise, and the light of the purple soul ring on the soles of his feet gradually dimmed. Your soul skill is pretty good. You can actually dodge my third soul skill. Suzanne couldn't help but admire. His third soul ring comes from a 2,000-year-old peregrine falcon, which greatly enhances speed. As for his third soul skill, air travel, when he dives and falls, his speed is unmatched by anyone, and can reach about 4 times the normal flying speed. It can be said that the possibility of being able to avoid it is almost slim. Lin Rao's ability to avoid it with her second soul skill has to surprise him. Call on the side. Lin Rao couldn't help but let out a long breath. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead, and her face became more solemn. You are indeed very fast. If it had been anyone else, it would have been impossible to escape. Pity. After a slight pause in her tone, Lin Rao couldn't help but reveal a smug smile on her face. My second soul skill early warning has a 50% chance of success evasion. You didn't expect this, right? No wonder. Hearing this, Suzanne immediately understood that the peregrine falcon could easily catch hares, so logically speaking, his speed would be no problem. However, the opponent's soul skill has a bit of a bug, with a 50% dodge possibility. It's a little worse than Xiao Wu's teleportation, but it's still quite practical. Boom, a fierce white light suddenly brightened. Suzanne's eyes froze, and he immediately turned around point behind Lin Rao. A round ball of white energy quickly condensed in front of Lin Zhu's mouth, and suddenly burst out, like a thunderous force, towards Suzanne point. The snow white energy ball looks very ordinary on the surface, but it contains a terrifying energy inside. The calm appearance hides the danger of explosion. Good timing. Suzanne's eyes tilted slightly, and he couldn't help but admire in his heart. The three of them were in a line. If he avoided it, the energy ball would attack Kan Ringsu point with such strength and fighting awareness. It is no wonder that they were able to win 3 consecutive victories in Xiandao City where experts gathered. It was indeed not easy, but it's time to end. So, Xian's eyes narrowed slightly, his arms flashed with golden light, and a giant golden claw appeared on his palm, perfectly inlaid with his fingers. Stab. Golden light shone everywhere. Suzanne's right hand gently drew down. The sound of the paper being torn was heard, and a giant golden claw with a diameter of 1 meter burst out in the void point. Wherever the giant golden claw passed, the space rippled, as if it would be torn apart at any time. The sharp cold light made people dare not look directly at it, which was extremely terrifying. This is Soulbone. At the observation deck, Kinming's pupils suddenly shrank, his face full of horror, and he stared blankly at the golden claws on Suzanne's hand. Of course, not only Kinming saw it, but many people in the VIP table also saw that it was a soul bone, and were stunned at this moment. Stab. The claws penetrated as easily as cutting tissue paper, and the snow white energy ball exploded directly. Suddenly, the ice exploded in all directions. The stage was filled with cold air, and the ice edges grew higher and higher, taking shape in the blink of an eye. Lin Zhu, get out of the way. Seeing that Lin Zhu was in a daze, Lin Rao looked anxious and shouted violently. She was not in a straight line, so it was obvious that it was a terrifying attack from the soul bone, which they could not withstand. Whoa. Lin Zhu came back to her senses immediately, watching the claws attack with fear in her eyes. Her heart was so frightened that she could even feel her martial soul trembling. That's right, her martial spirit is afraid. Recommended. Begging for recommendation votes. Updated 3 times a day. Chapter 44. Men sing about conquest. Women sing about being ugly. Boom. A heavy collision and crackling sound exploded on the soul fighting platform, and then the 2 figures were directly thrown away. Originally, Lin Rao was not attacked, but she still chose to resist together. Otherwise her sister Lin Zhu might have big problems. Unfortunately, the attack power of the soul bone skill is too strong. Even if the 2 of them work together to use the 3rd soul skill, it will be of no avail. The dark gold terror claw bear is an overlord level soul beast among soul beasts. It has been difficult for even the title Douluo to contend with for 10,000 years, and it is even more powerful than the titan giant ape, the king of the forest. The right metacarpal bone is the most powerful soul bone of the dark gold terror claw bear, and its attack power is more like that of the dark gold terror claw bear than other soul bones. Not to mention that the Soul Lord couldn't withstand the power of the Dark Gold Terror Claw. Even the Soul Lord couldn't resist it. After all, the 1,000-year-old Dark Gold Terror Claw bear has been able to hunt down 10,000-year-old soul beasts. It is extremely terrifying with its extremely golden power. This is amazing. It knocked 2 people off the stage at once. What? A powerful attack. What was that claw just now? It's so powerful. 1 versus 2, and he actually won. What's the background of this guy? Seeing Lin Rao and others being knocked out of the soul fighting platform. The tourist seats fell into silence, and then violent cheers broke out. Even Qinming was stunned, especially when he thought of the attack just now. He couldn't help but feel a little palpitated. What a terrifying attack power. Looking at Suzanne, Qinming's eyes trembled slightly. At this moment, he finally understood what Suzanne meant when he said that the outcome was destined. Even if he is a level 47 soul sect, he is not sure he can withstand the attack just now, let alone the sisters just now. Call taking a deep breath, Qinming looked at Suzanne, and his heart couldn't help but become active. If he could join the Emperor Dao, then it seems that the teacher has to come forward in this matter. With a vague suspicion in his heart, Qinming calmed down, explained to the two students, and quickly left the spirit fighting arena. Above the soul fighting arena, a skylight was opened, and an old man with white hair and an immortal spirit stood there quietly, his calm and deep eyes gleaming with light. When did this kid become so powerful? Looking at Suzanne below, the old man looked a little surprised and couldn't help but murmur to himself, Zhu, Mo, I don't want your cousin to come to the soul fighting arena to spread out today. You know what to do, right? The old man turned his head and looked at the woman behind him. A soft voice floated in the room, and a cold air swept out. Grandpa, I know what to do. The woman smiled slightly and then nodded, her expression not seeming to waver at all point on the soul fighting stage. Suzanne naturally didn't know that he was already being noticed, otherwise he wouldn't even come to the soul fighting arena. The experience and results also disappointed him. Just like winning, there is no sense of accomplishment at all. It would be better to pull out thousands of my Italian cannons and guide them to dance to the Pure Land on the stage, which would be more exciting. Point. Next time you meet a man, let him sing conquer. If you meet a girl, let her sing ugly. If you dare to utter even half a word of no, I will really shout fire. The soul fighting is over. This game is won by the Snow Love team. Ignoring the cheers of the crowd, Suzanne left with Xian Ringsu. As for the two sisters, he had a measured approach and would not destroy the flowers with one hand. It was already very late. Suzanne took Xian Ringsu out of the spirit fighting arena, and the two came to the street again. Next time I won't come to fight the spirit again. It's not interesting at all. Suzanne looked at Xian Ringsu, feeling a little bored. Although the 1-on-2 battle was awesome, it always felt like something was missing, and a bit uninspiring. It's probably the sour smell of love. You are so strong, shouldn't you be happy? With a charming smile on her face, Xian Ringsu looked happier than before, staring at Suzanne with shining eyes. Next time we beat someone up together, I will be even happier. Suzanne raised an eyebrow and replied with some anticipation, It seems that I have to practice hard, otherwise I won't be able to catch up with you. Xian Ringsu raised the corners of her mouth slightly and replied seriously. Come on. If you catch me, I will have sex with you. Nonsense. Why do I keep thinking wrongly lately? Could it be that male hormones are running rampant recently? Suddenly, Xian Ringsu's smile stopped. Her face turned cold at a speed visible to the naked eye, and she glanced at the empty street behind her. Let's go. It's time to go home. Noticing the change in Xian Ringsu's eyes, Suzanne's expression calm remained, and he held her hand and walked forward slowly. Phew. Suddenly, a figure appeared out of nowhere and blocked Suzanne's path. The middle-aged man, dressed in black clothes, has triangular eyes with a greedy glare, a hooked nose, slightly raised corners of his mouth, and a sinister face that does not look like he is a good person. Suzanne stopped without any panic, then turned around and left slowly, quite calmly. Keep the soul bone and I can let you live. The cold tone floated in the silent alleyway. The man did not move to pursue him, as if he had already captured Suzanne and the two of them. Silly bastard. Turning her head to look at the man, Suzanne slowly opened her mouth, spit out an exquisite word, and then quickened her pace. Boy, you are looking for death. The man immediately became furious. His eyes were so cold that he wanted to kill someone, and he rushed towards Suzanne. 1, 2, Suzanne muttered silently, but before he could count to 3, the man suddenly stopped and looked at the blue light surging around him in astonishment. Looking from the air, he saw a hexagonal pattern rapidly enlarging on the soles of his feet, and 6 light pillars rising from the ground, forming a closed energy barrier between them, shrouding him in the center of the formation. Man's face was horrified, and the 5 soul rings on his body burst out in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he completed the possession of the martial soul, and turned into a wolf. Then he spit out a violent energy from his mouth, and bombarded the energy barrier. Unfortunately, the attack was like a mud cow entering the sea. Before he could recover, a burst of energy bounced back from the barrier. The man's pupils shrank suddenly, already recognizing that this was his soul power. He quickly dodged it. Boom. There was an explosion, and a large pit with a diameter of 2 to 3 meters was formed on the granite street surface, and black smoke slowly rose from the pit. Looking at the formations around him, the man's face was as gloomy as water, and he couldn't help but tremble with fear in his heart. Just when he was panicking, a joking voice suddenly sounded. Yo yo yo, isn't this the guy who wants the soul bone? Why are you trapped? After knocking on the energy barrier, Suzanne nodded with satisfaction, with a mean smile on his face, just short of the word "hit me" written on his face. Despicable and dirty boy, if you can, let me out. The man's face was distorted, and he roared ferociously, idiot. Come out and bite me if you can. The dog was barking happily just now, so come out now, man. Wow wow wow, I hate it so much. Please vote for recommendations, give rewards. Chapter 45. There are 500 more formations like this. What happened just now is my fault. If you let me go, I will leave immediately. What do you think? Seeing Suzanne's look of needing a beating, the man was extremely angry, but thinking of the situation at this moment, he could only force a smile and said softly, "Since I'm wrong, shouldn't I express my gratitude?" Suzanne said with a harmless smile. Man, damn it. Am I the robber, or are you the robber? Xian Ringsu on the side suddenly turned red when she heard the word express, as if she thought of some inappropriate scene again. Little brother, here are 30,000 gold coins, just take them as my apology. What do you think? The man wanted to cry, but had no tears. If he had known this, why would he have made it difficult for him? Now he is fine. If he fails to steal the chicken, he will lose the rice. Only 30,000 gold coins, how poor. Suzanne shouted angrily. I thought he was a gangster level figure with a lot of money in his hands, but it turned out to be such a thing. A Soul King only has 30,000 gold coins. You have the nerve to continue hanging out in Xiandao City. You deserve to be reduced to robbery. Nonsense, man. Damn it, you poor sister. 30,000 gold coins are not enough for you. The man had already greeted Suzanne's relatives in his heart point, but on the surface, he pretends to be amiable and looks like an honest person. Suzanne. I go. Are you leaving me here to show off my acting skills? Didn't you know that I, a new Oriental graduate, still owe me 100 or 10 Oscars? With eyes full of disdain, Suzanne swiped his finger and saw that the formation revealed a gap in the thickness of the ruler. Throw it out, Suzanne said with a look of disgust. Seeing the gap, the man suddenly became desperate. He was under the eaves and had to lower his head and hand over the black gold card honestly. A flattering smile appeared on the man's face. Little brother, can you let me go now? Let it go. Of course let it go. I always keep my word. Suzanne spoke sternly, then changed the topic and continued. Not only will I let you go, I will also send you home for free. That's no need, just let me go. Seeing Suzanne suddenly being so stupid and kind, the man felt uneasy and waved his hands quickly. He clearly remembered how he fell into the trap just now. The guy in front of him was definitely a shady old bastard. Suzanne frowned. You still don't appreciate my kindness? Then, it's your decision. The man was so aggrieved that his voice became choked with sobs. Now it's right. Suzanne nodded with satisfaction and then threw a black wooden box in. The red numbers on it were beating and decreasing. 30 exclamation point 29 exclamation point quote after 30 seconds, this formation will open. After saying that, Suzanne immediately pulled Xian Ringsu and left quickly, leaving the man confused. Staring at the wooden box in front of him, the man's eyes showed suspicion, especially when he felt that there was soul power flowing in it. He became increasingly uneasy. On the other side, Suzanne and Xian Ringsu had walked a long way. Naturally, Suzanne couldn't be kind to someone who robbed soul bones. He was about to cut off his own hands and feet. How could he let him go? As for robbing wealth, don't even think about it. Wealth is not everything to him. It is his life. Thousands of gold coins, a piece of soul bone, a few gold coins and a level 5 soul guide, a gold coin, a huge divine crossbow. Therefore, what he hates most now is robbers. Now his life principle is, I won't give you my life, let alone money. Seeing that Suzanne was still so proud, Xian Rongsu couldn't help but get angry and asked with some pain, the power of the formation just now was quite good. You just don't want it anymore. The formation was very effective, and even the Soul King couldn't defeat it with all his strength. Now, just throw it away. Where? This is too wasteful! Exclamation mark. Hearing this, Suzanne shook the black gold card in his hand nonchalantly. Isn't this earned back? That formation can only defend against the Soul Emperor's attack, and the quality and effect are so poor that it is useless to keep it. That formation is called the 6-star formation. It is a one-time consumable, and is sold in the system for 20 gold coins. And he has earned 30,000 gold coins. Has the rate of return been reported? After this incident, Suzanne also understood that making money was too troublesome, so it was better to steal money quickly. So, do you want to go to the Pope's palace carrying a few level 9 custom installed soul cannons? Maybe my mother-in-law Bibidan would take pity on me and prevent me from being injured by firing the cannon, and she would be so merciful that she would give me hundreds of millions of gold soul coins as lucky money. His good idea. I'm so talented, but why do you feel like you are seeking death? This is like carrying a nuclear bomb to the United States to rob a bank. On the other side, when she heard that the formation could defend against the Soul Emperor's attack, Xian Rongsu's eyes immediately turned red, and she gritted her teeth in anger. That formation is a treasure, but it was thrown away like this. It's a pretty good thing. I was promised to be the boss. What's wrong? Noticing that something was wrong with Xian Rongsu's expression, Suzanne felt a chill on her back and asked weakly, how many formations like this do you have? Xian Rongsu asked through gritted teeth. Can I not answer? Suzanne said thoughtfully. No. Xian Rongsu directly rejected it. If there are good things, it is better to keep them here, otherwise they will definitely be ruined. Seeing Xian Rongsu being so decisive, Suzanne checked the storage ring and system space, and then slowly said, there are probably more than 500 formations like the one just now. More than 500. Eyes suddenly widened. Xian Rongsu felt that her brain went blank. Her soul seemed to have been stripped from her body, and her body softened uncontrollably. Hey wife, are you okay? Wife. Suzanne hurriedly hugged Xian Rongsu. His face suddenly became nervous. Boom. At this moment, suddenly a burst of sparks shot into the sky, followed by a violent thunderous explosion. Xian Rongsu was also awakened. She looked at the direction of the fire and understood immediately. Her face was a little pale, as if she had been greatly frightened. Xian Rongsu's face was full of shock. You just said you have more than 500 of that kind of formation? Yeah. Suzanne nodded hurriedly. Wife, what are you doing? Seeing Xian Rongsu reaching out her hand, Suzanne was puzzled. I want it. Xian Rongsu said righteously and sternly. Suzanne, we are still on the street. Can't we go back and talk about it? After thinking for a while, Suzanne understood what Xian Rongsu was talking about and asked with a somewhat painful expression, honey, how much do you want? Seeing that Suzanne was so easy to talk to, Xian Rongsu raised 5 fingers with an unwavering expression. Whoa wife, you are too greedy. You want 500 for your asking. Seeing this, Suzanne was about to cry. This was too heartless. This was his life. PFFT. I just want 50. Seeing that Suzanne looked sad, but not angry at all, Xian Rongsu changed her cold demeanor and smiled sweetly. You didn't tell me earlier, which made the Lun family's hearts beat wildly. Suzanne said angrily with an orchid finger. Xian Rongsu, please vote for recommendations and reward. Chapter 46. The most powerful man is born. Anzin gave Xian Rongsu 50 array discs and scrolls without any tricks. He indeed has more than 500 Soul Emperor level defensive formations, but Soul Saint level defense 100 Contra level defense, 50. Even if it is a titled Douluo level formation, he still has 20. Although 5 of them are arranged in the prince's mansion, there are still 15 left. Therefore, 50 Sol Emperor level formations. Just think of it as a toy to tease your wife. Alas, he is actually so domineering. If he didn't think so, he would still feel pain in his body, but now he feels much better. Do you have any other formations there? Just when Suzanne breathed a sigh of relief, Qian Rinxu's words rang out again, and the latter was seen staring at Suzanne with a smile on his face. That look, it looks very much like the way my husband looks when he pays his salary. The salary here is money, don't get it wrong. Suzanne's face suddenly froze. Woohoo, it's so hard to be a good man. Author dad, why don't you give me a scumbag man? With my 70% meanness, 30% coquettishness, and my sweet words, it would be easy to capture all the beauties in Douluo Point. When the time comes, I'll give you 1 or 2 bed warmers, won't they be nice? Hearing this, the author clenched his fists and smiled slightly. I want them all. Seeing Qian Rinxu staring at him with a smile, Suzanne had a sad face, full of despair. Just tell me directly, how much do you want? What level? Let me be mentally prepared. Qian Rinxu's eyes lit up. Do you have more advanced formation? Originally, from Suzanne's tone just now, she was just guessing, so she wanted to ask, but now it seems there really are advanced formations. What a big gain. Muran felt happy that he had found some private money. Suzanne, I seem to have been tricked. Seeing Qian Rinxu's surprised look, Suzanne wanted to give himself a few words. Woohoo, sure enough, the old woman has been in a trap since ancient times. And the husband has ground his iron pestle into a needle. Nodding silently, Suzanne suddenly wanted to be quiet. Although he didn't know where Qinghe was, he just missed it very much at the moment. Qian Rinxu knelt down in front of Suzanne and hugged him with both hands. She stared at him with big watery eyes and said playfully, then, do you have a formation that can defend against titled Douluo? Koi, ahem. Suzanne's heart suddenly trembled. Suzanne nodded silently and then couldn't help hugging Qian Rinxu, feeling the gentle and numb body of the beloved girl. Other people's good things are the same. Unlike here, that is the wholesale market. Qian Rinxu's watery eyes, as bright as stars, stared blankly at Suzanne. The brilliance rippled in the autumn water. Qian Rinxu said with affection, then give me 1 or 2. If you squander them all, I still have some here. I might be able to help yourself in the future. I felt warm inside, but I didn't expect that this silly girl was actually thinking about. She was indeed a good wife who was diligent and thrifty. I'll give you 4, so that we can have peace all year round. Suzanne waved his hand and replied domineeringly. Are you kidding me? What I give to my wife is not my own. When have I ever been stingy and heartbroken? Another day, I will go to the wholesale market of the system to buy dozens of them and form a love heart to have a romantic time. No, I'll just take 2. You can keep these for yourself. Looking at the 4 formations in front of her, Qian Rinxu smiled slightly, only picked 2, and pushed the other 2 back to Suzanne. Suzanne didn't refuse. With Qian Rinxu's strength and identity, she was almost not in any danger. Unlike him, there are always people who harm me. Running his thumb over Qian Rinxu's small mouth, Suzanne raised his eyebrows and hinted, look, I've given you so many good things. Shouldn't you express your gratitude? I don't want it. With a blush on her face, Qian Rinxu turned around and escaped from Suzanne's arms. Her shy look looked very cute. I'm going back to my house to go to bed first. You can go slowly by yourself. Sticking out her tongue playfully, Qian Rinxu made a face at Suzanne, then turned around and ran towards the mansion. Jumping and jumping, under the illumination of various lights, Qian Rinxu's light and graceful figure is like a butterfly dancing among colorful flowers, which is pleasing to the eye. I'm not accompanying you when you sleep. Sure enough, you say you don't want it, but you honestly say it in your heart. With a slight smile on his lips, Suzanne immediately chased after him. Prince's mansion. Didn't go to Yuxuan to study, and nothing happened. Ignoring the imperial government affairs and nothing happened. Emperor Xue seemed to have forgotten Suzanne and wished he would not come. As for studying at the Royal Academy, Suzanne thought he could escape, But it turned out that he was overthinking it. Suzanne and Xian Rinxu had just finished breakfast when the professor from the college arrived at the mansion. Meng Shenji, the second seat of the Royal Academy Education Committee, the 7th 9th level control type battle soul saint, the martial spirit black demon. Although it is a control type, the weirdness and speed of the black demon are no less than those of the agility attack type. Of course, he was also the future chief of the Royal Academy. Teacher Meng, why did you come to my place so early? Looking at the kind old man in front of him who revealed evil spirits, Suzanne went straight to the point. Meng Shenji smiled and said, I just heard that His Highness was injured, and I was worried, so I came here to take a look. After a few words of numbness, Suzanne did not continue to answer the conversation, and continued to draw on the piece of paper with a pen. We've all been foxes for thousands of years, and they're still having fun with me here? Meng Shenji, what does he mean? Seeing Suzanne being so contemptuous of him, Meng Shenji felt that the other party seemed to have changed a bit from before, but it was hard to explain. It seemed that this was his nature. Seeing that Suzanne was silent, Meng Shenji took the initiative and asked, I wonder what His Highness thinks of Wuhan Palace? It's so strong. The Empire is no match, and even 10,000 of you are no match. Suzanne blurted out without hesitation. Meng Shenji. Damn it. Did you take gunpowder this morning? There's a taste of gunpowder in your mouth. Patiently, Meng Shenji did not get angry, but nodded in agreement. Yes, Haoshan sect has retired. Wuhan Palace is getting bigger and bigger, and its momentum can no longer be suppressed. When the conversation changed, Meng Shenji stared at Suzanne. Don't you feel a little bit of a crisis, Your Highness? Hearing this, Suzanne glanced at him lightly, but still didn't say anything. Crisis. The biggest crisis is at his home. Talking about the crisis with the young master, eating too much. As for Wu Handian, he is also someone who takes advantage of his mother-in-law. Although he is trampling on 2 boats now, and may capsize at any time, as long as he maintains balance, he is the most powerful man in pan-continental background and secret strength, the eldest son of the Imperial Emperor, the man of the future angel god, the future son-in-law of Rakshasa god, the grandson-in-law of the mainland's top expert, extreme Douluo and Aoliu. Thanks to Little Obey, drink more lava, Zioao, Giu, mint candy, Dialianhua for the rewards, and thank you all for your daily recommendation votes. Thank you all for your support. Chapter 47 The Ultimate Game of Wisdom, Wealth and Soul. Teacher Meng, just tell me if you have something to do. I have something else to do, so I'm afraid I won't be able to stay with him for long. Suzanne didn't want to continue making any twists and turns. The picture he drew in his hand was almost completed, and he had his own business to do. In that case, let me tell you straight, we want His Highness to participate in this Soul Master competition, and compete for the college. After finishing speaking, Meng Shenji stared at Suzanne with piercing eyes, his fiery eyes full of expectation. Did Qinming tell you? Suzanne raised an eyebrow and his voice suddenly became cold. Your Highness, please rest assured, only we 3 old guys know about this matter, and it will never be spread outside. Meng Shenji quickly assured, and at the same time, he was certain in his heart that what Qinming said was the truth. Unexpectedly, the eldest prince is so talented. He became a soul master at the age of 14 and already has the fighting power of a higher level soul sect. If they can join the Royal Academy team, then in the Wuhan City finals 3 months later, their Royal Academy will be able to have more foresight. The Royal Academy has lost 2 consecutive sessions every 5 years, and we must not continue to lose. This not only brings shame to the academy, but also to the face of the entire Xian Empire. You want me to participate in the Soul Master competition? Suzanne thought for a moment, then immediately started shaking again. If you don't go, I won't go even to death. I don't have the time. Even if you go to participate, you can actually stand in front of the Pope's palace with a level 9 fixed soul cannon, look down on the world, and then blackmail. However, I have always been a low-key person. You can't do such shameless and obscene things. Besides, he couldn't use soul guides in the Soul Master competition, which completely restricted his room for performance. If he could, he would release a level 7 Soul bomb every game, and the loud roar would sweep the whole place. That would be awesome. As for fighting with bare hands, what's the point? You punch me, and I slap you back. Don't you know that the effects of force are mutual? This is like fighting a war. I have brought artillery, missiles and nuclear bombs, but you want to fight me with a bayonet. Depend on. I'm so stupid to agree to your idiot's request. Just drag out my Italian cannon and give you a few hundred rounds and that's it. Why bother with so many moths? Seeing Suzanne's refusal, Meng Shenji suddenly became anxious. Your Highness, this is not just a matter of the academy, it is also a matter of the honor and disgrace of the empire. As a prince, you should at least contribute. Yes, I have contributed. I was just thinking about forming a cheerleading team. As he spoke, Suzanne blinked his big eyes, which were full of sincerity. Meng Shenji, I have a saying that I can't wait to tell you immediately. Cheerleaders, that's no use. No matter how happy you shout, you will lose miserably later. This is not to cheer, but to slap you in the face. Is His Highness really so ruthless and unreasonable? With a faint sigh, Meng Shenji suddenly felt a little exhausted physically and mentally, and was extremely disappointed with Suzanne. This empire does not belong to them, but to the royal family. If even the eldest prince is so irresponsible, is there any hope for the empire in the future? No, I'm not ruthless, I'm just seeing things clearly. Suzanne shook his head and completed the outline of the last word in his hand, and a smile appeared on his lips. Meng Shenji's eyes narrowed, and he seemed to feel that there was some improvement. I would like to hear the details. Okay, then just think of me as ruthless and unreasonable. Originally, he wanted to discuss the salted fish avenue with Meng Shenji, but the things were already made, and he was too lazy to continue talking. He shrugged and said with an indifferent expression, Meng Shenji, damn it. Are you kidding me? Your Highness, I have to say goodbye. With a wave of his sleeves, Meng Shenji left angrily without any trace of sloppiness. He is afraid of staying here, and his mentality explodes. It's okay to leave, I should go about my important business. With a faint sigh, Suzanne didn't try to stay. He still had very important things to do. Next point, this is an ultimate game of strategy, brain power, and money, and there is no room for him to waste other energy on other things. Honey, I finished making this thing, now you can play with it. A very penetrating sounded shout, and Suzanne took the things he had made and left the hall as fast as he could. 3 minutes later, Suzanne and Xian Ringsu sat on the soft plush mink. Ah, you planning to tell us a fortune? Looking at the cards in front of her that were similar to tarot cards, Xian Ringsu had a stern expression on her face and her interest was waning. She thought Suzanne really had something interesting to do. This is not tarot, but poker. It is a very interesting game. Suzanne patiently explained with a slight twitch in his mouth. Poker? Xian Ringsu was also stunned, and then picked up the card with the word king written on it. It seemed to be very different from the tarot cards. What does this mean? After looking at it, she was puzzled. Xian Ringsu shook the king card and asked curiously. Suzanne replied with some satisfaction. This is the Emperor. It has a scepter painted on it. It is the largest card among all the cards. The one below is the Queen. Seemingly grasping the key point, Xian Ringsu's eyes lit up. So, this card is divided into different sizes. That's right. Suzanne gave Xian Ringsu a thumbs up. The latter was so happy that she smiled and said nothing. Suzanne went on to explain. This is which is a metaphor for one person is below 10,000 people, and it means the prince. K represents the kings of the 4 principalities of the Xian Empire. The principalities are smaller in size, so they are not included. Q represents the queen and concubines, and J represents the country's generals and army. The rest are arranged in numerical order from 2 to 10, representing different levels of confusion of soul masters. The more he explained, the more Suzanne became a little. Look at his Douluo explanation of poker. It is easy to understand. Hearing this novel explanation, Xian Ringsu's eyes were shining. She held Suzanne's arm and said in a coquettish tone, "You'd better tell me directly how to play." Okay, let's start with the simplest one, called fried golden flour. With a slight smile on her face, Suzanne took Xian Ringsu into her arms with her right hand. The latter did not struggle and lay in Suzanne's arms with a smile, enjoying the warmth from his chest. Immediately, Suzanne started his first teaching activity in Douluo continent step by step. Xian Rinxu, on the other hand, looked like a curious baby, with clear spring-like eyes full of novelty, as if a door to a new world was about to be pushed open, ready to move. Why can't 2 princes A or 2 concubines Q with 3 cards defeat 3 soul masters 8? Xian Rinxu pouted, somewhat dissatisfied. These 3 soul masters are all card 8, which implies that they can explode the trinity of martial soul fusion skills. So, that's the case, but why can't I beat soul masters who don't all have card 8, like 345? Xian Rinxu, the numbers 345 are connected together and are called shunzi, which means they have a strong sense of unity and cooperation, and if 2 princes A or concubines Q are together, they will fight among themselves. Suzanne, M. Then why are 3 cards of the same suit stronger than a straight that works together? Don't you think it's unreasonable? Xian Rinxu, the same suit and color means they are in the same season and time. They will act collectively, and the 3 cards of different suits that form a straight, the 3 of them just met by chance. Suzanne, that stop it. I'm at a loss for words. Stop asking. Whoa. Whoa Suzanne. It's so hard for me. Fortunately, my mind moves quickly. Woo woo woo, please vote for recommendations and collect them. This chapter is prepared for the entertainment city later. It may be a bit watery, but I have to write it down. Chapter 48, losing clearly. After much effort, Suzanne finally got Xian Rinxu to sleep, and she also understood the rules of the game point, but Suzanne raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said with a smile, since it's a game, shouldn't we bet something? Otherwise it won't be fun. Then, what do you want to bet on? Xian Rinxu was also a little itchy about this kind of game, but when she saw Suzanne's malicious smile, she suddenly became wary. Gambling. Money is too sentimental and meaningless. It's all our money, so there's nothing to gamble with. Suzanne began to subtract and eliminate in a serious manner, and Xian Rinxu couldn't help but nodded. She didn't need money, and as long as she asked, he would definitely give it to her. Otherwise, if you win, you can kiss me. If I win, I can kiss you. What do you think? As soon as his eyes lit up, Suzanne's face remained motionless, looking completely open to discussion, but Xian Rinxu rolled her eyes in shame and anger. She had been with Suzanne for a few days, and she didn't know what a frivolous person he was. Snort. He just knows how to take advantage of me and bully me. I woke up in the morning and was still causing trouble. I couldn't agree to anything I said. After thinking about it, Xian Rinxu suddenly had an idea. If I lose, I will promise you something. If you lose, I also want you to promise me something, and you can't regret it or refuse it. Is anything okay? Suzanne raised an eyebrow and asked with a smirk. No, we are still young and haven't gotten married yet. Don't even think about it. Seeing Suzanne like this, Xian Rinxu didn't know what evil thoughts Suzanne was thinking. She was immediately ashamed and angry, and a blush appeared on her face, staining her bright dimples. Suzanne was shocked and looked at Xian Rinxu in disbelief. What are you thinking? I just asked you to rub my back. I didn't expect you to think wrong. Xian Rinxu, I have taken off my pants. What are you telling me? You are shameless. Knowing that Suzanne was acting deliberately just to seduce her, Xian Rinxu became angry and stood up from Suzanne's arms. She pushed Suzanne hard with her hands and pushed Suzanne down onto the blanket. With an angry and shy face, Xian Rinxu leaned beside Suzanne, and her hands fell on Suzanne's waist involuntarily. I asked you to deliberately induce me and make fun of me. Let's see if you dare in the future. As she kept tickling Suzanne, Xian Rinxu's sulky face burst into laughter in the blink of an eye. You stop. It's so itchy. Ha 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 ha. I'll stop it. Stop it. If you don't stop it, I'll call you. Shout. Let's see if anyone dares to come in. If your throat is broken. Oh. Ho ho wife. I was wrong. I will never dare to do it again. Ha ha ha. 3 minutes. Suzanne and Xian Rinxu successfully switched roles. Last time, the woman was on top and the man was on the bottom. This time, the man was on top and the woman was on the bottom. Is it wrong, Sue? Xian clasped Rinx's hands, looking domineering, and asked in a domineering manner. Don't. I'm ticklish. It's okay that I'm wrong. Rinxu muttered pitifully. If she had known, she should not have let Suzanne wake up. Now, I know I was wrong. It's too late. You tortured me to death just now, and now it's your turn to taste it. Be honest, what do you want me to promise you if I lose? Suzanne asked forcefully. I don't. Woo woo woo, stop it. It'll tickle me to death. Ha ha ha, speak. Quickly, I will let you go. Hurry up. I said, if, woo woo, I lie to you about something in the future. Don't be angry. Rinxu was so happy that her flowers were blooming, and her figure was twisting and struggling like a willow in the wind. She was laughing so hard that tears almost flowed out, and her face flushed like spring. Hearing this, Suzanne's movement suddenly freeze, as if he understood something unexpectedly. She was actually worried about this. An inexplicable light flashed in his eyes, and Suzanne felt deeply. He slightly raised the corners of his mouth like a crescent moon, looking at the girl on his body with distress. Silly girl, you think too much with slightly red eyes. Suzanne hugged Rinxu and lay down. Her nose was sore, and she wanted to cry, but her heart felt warm. You. Sensing Suzanne's sincerity, Rinxu, who was just about to take action to regain the place, was stunned, a little confused as to what was going on. Ahem. Let's play the game of fried golden flowers. Afraid that Rinxu would notice, Suzanne quickly came to his senses and sorted out the playing cards as if happened nothing. Seeing Suzanne like this, Rinxu frowned, and her intuition told her that something was wrong, but her attention soon shifted to the playing cards. While shuffling the cards, Suzanne continued to explain the rules of the game to Rinxu, so that she would not be unclear about her win and her own loss. Each person has 100 chips, and whoever loses will lose. The rules of the game are very simple. In each round, you put one chip as the ante. If you think your hand is strong, you can raise or go all in. If your hand is small, you can just fold it. After speaking, Suzanne cut the cards and started dealing them directly, placing chips for Rinxu. Another world. The first scene. Fried golden flowers, couple war, start now. I'll add 10 gold coins. Just as Suzanne made his move, Rinxu's 10 gold coin chips had already been thrown down. Well, when he looked at his cards, 3 AAAs, and the corner of Suzanne's mouth twitched sharply. I am, when I want to lose, give me this. Why didn't you have such good luck when you were playing cards in the past? Follow 10 and add 10 more. After thinking about it, it seemed that he couldn't lose because it was too obvious. Suzanne raised the bet, planning to make a few small wins before letting go. I went all in. As soon as she finished speaking, Rinxu pushed out the chips in front of her and looked at him with a smile, which made Suzanne's eyelids jump. Damn it. Wouldn't the first two kings be with her? Do not believe. I won't believe it even to death. I folded. You win. With an attitude of disbelief, Suzanne threw the cards away. Otherwise he would have won if he followed. There are maids who can beat back and legs at any time, and my wife can do whatever she wants. It doesn't make any difference whether I win or not. But losing can make someone feel at ease. Suzanne has already calculated this account very clearly. I won with my pair. Seeing that Suzanne actually folded his cards, Rinxu took back the chips with a smile and showed her whole card of a pair of fives. Suzanne, should I have a nervous breakdown and wait online? Urgent. A pair of fives. Do you dare to go all in? What a big heart. Thanks to Little Obey, Zioyoyoyo, Zixintaoist, Virtual Happiness, for the rewards, and thank you all for your recommendation votes. PS. This chapter is a continuation of the previous chapter. What follows is no longer water poker, but water magic. Ahem. Just kidding. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, Emperor and Empress Mixed Doubles. In the past, when Suzanne read fictional historical novels, He could always see the protagonist killing everyone in the card games he created. Well, at least in the first game of the card game, the protagonist must have won money. However, after today's scene, Suzanne's outlook on things has changed. That's right. He lost 600 chips to Xian. 600? Exclamation mark. There were only 200 chips, so where did the 600 chips come from? He doesn't know either, pretending to be confused. I only knew that Xian would go all in every round, and I followed him while the cards were low, and the result, well, he still won! 236 she dares to go all in. It's really a person with so much wealth and a land with so much boldness. You taste carefully. At first, he thought Xian was a self-taught person and was deliberately trying to bluff him. As it turned out, she was completely fooling around. What confused him even more was, once she gets lucky and wins all her chips, Xian will immediately have a pile of gold coin chips in front of her. Her big eyes are pitiful, and she will look playful and coquettish towards herself. That's right. She actually pretended to be pitiful to gain sympathy. I go, you were so arrogant when you went all in, but now you are pretending to be a kitten and scratching his heart. How can you bear it? After teaching her a harsh lesson, Suzanne graciously let her go. Then he pushed it down and started over again. Finally, under his unrestricted letting go, Xian finally won. Woohoo! In order for her to win, it was so hard for him that she almost bit his lip. With a smile on her face, Xian Yu's eyes sparkled, and she seemed to be happier than ever. I won. Remember what you promised me. Don't worry. Xue Qinghe, have always kept my word. Xian patted his chest and spoke sternly. He had never been a shameless person. If so, it must be because the author saw that he had a wife and became angry, so he deliberately wrote blindly and wanted to slander him. That's right. That must be the case. Your Highness, the Queen has asked you to come over. Just when Suzanne was about to explain something to Xian, the voice of Maid Qinghe rang outside the door. You can play it at home. Just play the game appropriately. Don't get too addicted to it, and don't forget to practice. Holding Xian's dimples and rubbing them, and pinching her delicate little nose, Suzanne reminded her teasingly, and then left under Xian's shameful and angry gaze. Humph, she is not so playful. Royal Palace. Suzanne couldn't help but feel wary of my mother's sudden summons. After all, he cheated his father of 3 million gold coins, and there has been no movement at all in the past few days, which is really suspicious. It is certain that the old man must be holding back some big move, and the old bad guy is waiting for him. Well, that must be the case. Mother, I wonder what you want from me. Obediently approaching Nanganling, Suzanne couldn't be more honest and asked curiously, can't I come with you to chat with my mother if I have nothing to do? Nanganling asked, with a teasing look in her eyes. Of course you can. Let me come whenever you want. I'll be here at your call. Suzanne replied forcefully. On call. Hearing this, Nanganling couldn't help laughing even more, her eyes full of joking. Someone had a lot of fun in the spirit fighting arena last night. Even Zuo was pulled on stage to join in the fun. Xian, I go. Who is talking behind your back? Which of your eyes saw that I was happy? I was obviously unhappy last night. Do you have the qualities of a spy? With his eyes slightly focused, Suzanne began to figure out who betrayed him. First of all, Yi Crossing was not with them last night. After all, it is impossible to have a light bulb next to you when you are in love with your wife. Obviously, it's not her. Secondly, there is the Great Soul Fighting Arena. After all, he has shown his waist card. The Xian Great Soul Fighting Arena is controlled by the royal family and is managed by his second grandfather, Gangan Wangzuan, who firmly supports his family's main lineage. When Zhu Yi and Zhu Ming, King Balak, fought for the throne, he was also one of the biggest helpers. However, with his character, it is unlikely that he would discuss this matter with Zhu Yi. Then, only Qin Ming is left. Recalling that Meng Shenji came to find her before, Suzanne suddenly became enlightened. Conspiracy. Definitely a conspiracy. Meng Shenji must have asked the old man for someone, and the old man knew that he was too hard to take, so he came up with a curve strategy. High. It's really high. Knowing that the young master has deep feelings for my mother Nangangling, he will not refuse. He is indeed the emperor's old cunt. So, Queen Mother, you are also here to persuade me to join the imperial fighting team? Suzanne asked with some despair. A mixed doubles match between husband and wife. Before he and Xian Ringsu could experience the pleasure, he was already being beaten first. Nangangling shook her head. That's not true. Although the Soul Master competition is not allowed to hurt people's lives, there are still many accidents. Naturally, Queen Mother, I don't trust you to participate. Hearing this, Suzanne's eyes suddenly brightened. Look. This is a good mother. She understands her son's heart so well. Suzanne chuckled and said, I knew it would be impossible for the Queen Mother to agree. Seeing Suzanne's cheerful look, Nangangling shook her head and continued, although you don't have to participate in the Soul Master competition, you still have to study at the Royal Academy every day. You are not yet 15 years old, but you are already a level 37 Soul Master. Although I don't know what kind of encounters have allowed you to improve your cultivation so quickly, this talent cannot be wasted. So, after spending a few more days with Xue, you can go to the Royal Academy to study. The future of the empire will ultimately depend on you four brothers. Nangangling stared at Suzanne affectionately. Her voice, which was like gurgling water, was pleasing to the eye, and Suzanne's heart softened. I have to say, that his father is worthy of being a father. He has a tight grip on himself, and knows that he will eat the queen's sweet words. Nonsense. It is simply despicable and despicable to secretly attack Xue Qinghe. Mother, is there really no room for negotiation? Looking at Nangangling helplessly, Suzanne tried to struggle again. Hearing this, Nangangling shook her head, her eyes unwavering. Cool. Taking a deep breath, Suzanne's eyes flashed, and she said confidently, Mother, as the eldest prince of the Xiandao Empire, it is my duty to bring honor to the country. Before, I was narrow-minded and should not have refused the kindness of Meng Shenji's teaching chair. You don't have to persuade me. I will definitely participate in this soul fighting competition. A good man must stand upright and never live in an ignoble way. So, Xian's face was not red and his heart was not beating. He raised his eyes at a 45-degree angle, looked up to the sky and sighed, with tears filling his eyes. Woohoo, it's so hard for me. But, a man won't shed tears easily. With a wave of his hand, Suzanne strode out of the palace. Woohoo, he needed to find his little wife to comfort his injured heart. Seeing Suzanne leaving tragically, Nangangling was stunned, and then became amused by his shameless appearance. As expected, Queen, you still have a way. There was a faint sound of surprise, and Emperor Xue walked out, looking at the direction Suzanne left with full of pride. Have you experienced too much in later life, and are you so decadent that you don't want to be a prince? I tell you, don't even dream about it. Wow, revenge is avenged. So cool. Thanks to little Obey, Jiu 7 deadly sins, smile for the rewards, and thank you for the iron juice recommendation ticket. It is already 14th on the free list. Please ask for the iron juice recommendation ticket. Chapter 50. A clever plan to bring peace to the world. Alas, looking at the palace that was getting further away behind him, Suzanne took a long breath of helplessness. He swore that he would never step into this place alone in the future, and would bring Xian Ringsu with him in the future, so that Nangangling would be embarrassed to trick him. Really, the mixed doubles of husband and wife must be defeated by a husband and wife team. He is really weak alone. Thinking that he still had to participate in the Soul Master competition, Suzanne felt a little helpless, but compared to studying at the Royal Academy, the former was undoubtedly much better. After all, he was not going to participate in the preliminaries of the Soul Master competition. With the fighting power of Huang Dao's first team, he could just appear at the end to clean up the mess at least. You don't have to study at the Royal Academy every day. Wrong. If I'm level 30, can I graduate? Suddenly, Suzanne seemed to have thought of something. His face turned pale, and he almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Damn it, he was tricked. He can graduate now without going to the Royal Academy to study. Woohoo, slim blue mushroom. After thinking about it, Suzanne gave up the idea of going back to Nangangling to argue. Alas, the old man is very clever in persuading his mother, but what else can he do as a son besides admitting his defeat? Play the role of a scoundrel in front of my mother, and then refuse to admit it until you die. Sorry, he is also a shameless person and cannot do such a thing. After all, he was facing an amiable mother. If he had gone to his father Xue Yi's place instead, he would not hesitate at all. Point cheating, no negotiation, but cheating on your mother is a bit of a punishment from God. Xue, I have a saying that I don't know if I should say it or not. You are a typical double standard. Dad, let's wait and see. I'll have you begging me when you do. Looking at the palace behind him, Suzanne seemed to see the abominable Emperor Xue Yi laughing at him, gritted his teeth, and left quickly. I see that I'm innocent at first glance. He should put this debt on Xue Yi's head. Let's wait and see. Langsing City is located in the Xingluo Empire to the east of the Xiandao Empire, and is a land bordering the two empires. The imperial clan is stationed in the main hall. On the main seat, an old man sat there quietly. The old man had short hair like a steel needle, big copper bell eyes, and extremely broad shoulders. His whole figure was like a broad and solid fortress. The old man is the leader of the Yu clan, Niu Gao. Opposite him was a middle-aged man in plain clothes. His face was resolute and dull, and his eyes were bright but cold. Senior, I have already conveyed the eldest prince's meaning. I wonder what your senior means, Commander. When he stood respectfully below, even if he just looked at Niu Gao, the former could feel a heavy sense of oppression. There is no doubt that this is the terror of high-level soul masters. There was a vigilance in Niu Gao's eyes. Are you sure that His Highness just asked us to build buildings, and not that the royal family wants to annex our Yu clan? Although the Haitian sect has retired, and they have been suppressed terribly in the past 2 years, no matter how miserable they are, it is absolutely impossible for them to accept the empire's incorporation. The glory of the past will always be indelible. Senior, what I said is absolutely true. When I came, His Highness had already ordered the recruitment of craftsmen in the city. As for what Senior is worried about, with the strength of the seniors, and Xiandao City still has a powerful clan, there should be no need to worry about this. With bright eyes, Commander Wei looked sincere. However, when he mentioned Niu Gao's concerns, his tone paused slightly, and he did not dare to speculate further. That's true. Hearing this, Niu Gao couldn't help but nodded. He and Tay were both sold Douluo, and the Xiandao Empire royal family didn't have a title Douluo, so he wasn't worried about falling into the trap. However, just because there is no conspiracy does not mean it is feasible. Although he is stupid, he is not stupid. The Yu clan was once affiliated with the Haitian sect, and they went to build a house for the Xiandao royal family openly and honestly. The connotation of this was not simple. At that time, what will the other 3 tribes think? What do other forces think? How will the situation of the Yu clan be better after that? Or worse? After thinking about it, Niu Gao finally waved his hand. Compared with the yet to be clarified crisis, he still wanted the Yu clan to exist safely. Go back and tell His Highness that it is difficult for the Yu clan to fulfill His Highness's request. Please forgive me. Seeing that Niu Gao actually refused, Commander Wei was not surprised, and took out the first tip bag he carried. Your Highness gave instructions when he came here. If Senior doesn't agree, you can act according to the instructions in the brochure. After explaining to the confused Niu Gao, Commander Wei immediately opened the bag of tips, and then a brilliant strategy emerged. Niu Gao immediately knelt down and licked. Well, the above paragraph is what Wei thought of himself. Sorry, Niu Gao's eyes were also staring at the kit, and his eyes were full of teasing. He wanted to see how a teenage boy could force him to submit. The kit was slowly opened, and a purple card fell out, which was held by Commander Wei with quick hands and eyes. Looking at the purple gold card in his hand, Commander Wei was also startled, and then suddenly became confused. Where are the tips? Why is it a purple gold card? I have a saying that I don't know if I should say it or not. Niu Gao's big copper bell-like eyes suddenly stared. His face was as gloomy as water, and his belly was already burning with anger. It's actually a gold coin card, or a purple gold coin card. Dry. Are you treating us as beggars? It's really too much. Thinking that his imperial clan was once extremely glorious, even the lower 4 sects were cowards in front of them, but now they have suffered such a shame and humiliation. It's tolerable, but what can't be tolerated? Niugeo was so angry that his originally red cheeks turned red because of his anger, as if a volcano was about to erupt, and the soul power surging out of his body came like a tide. Commander Wei, woohoo, you don't want to trick your teammates like this. Could it be that he was so angry that he died for the country? His Gilu swallowing hard, Commander Wei's face turned pale, and he quickly took out his second tip bag, expecting to find some life-saving plan. But obviously, he was disappointed. There was a black gold card inside. The air suddenly became quieter. Commander Wei, fake. Everything is fake. I must be dreaming. With tears streaming down his face, Commander Wei's facial features were mixed, and he felt helpless, and he took out the third tip bag again. Then, a red gold card appeared. Commander Wei, I really believed your lies. Ahem. I suddenly figured it out. Our royal clan has always been good at architecture. If we don't agree, I'm afraid His Highness won't be able to find anyone else. So, I'd better agree reluctantly. Just when Commander Wei was in despair, Niugeo's voice suddenly rang out. Seeing him speaking plausibly and confidently, Commander Wei was immediately confused. Children, do you have many questions? Thanks to Little Obey, Fengxiaoyu, Drink More Lava, Genji, Little Lucky, for the rewards. Please vote for recommendations. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.